They were just trying to run every test they could to figure out what was going on. And so, we did that. They told me I was going to need a kidney transplant, but in the meantime, I was going to have to do dialysis. And so, I met with the dialysis clinic over in Temple, and, they set me up, and they were excellent. Just the care that I received from those guys, it was all first class. But I was able to do something called peritoneal dialysis. They put a port. Everyone has a
Texas board certified person.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Braylon Arnold makes the first man miss, has room to run on the right side. He's got a chance for 6. Braylon Arnold! No one in front of him! Touchdown, Baylor! 73 yards!
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Bond's going, and he steals it without a throw, and that's number 500.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
They stopped the fight. The commission doctor and referee Arthur McCanny went over to Quarry's corner, examined his right eye. Puffy closed. The left eye, too, now substantially closed. The vision apparently gone. Quarry crying bitterly. Didn't want the fight to be stopped, but it goes under state rules as a 7-round knockout for Joe Frazier, still the heavyweight champion in 6 states.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This Tuesday afternoon as we start this 12th week, episode 57, SicEm365 Radio. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoke. Also, Dylan Chapman, our on and off. He's our baseball guru, the coach,
our Twitch
scout.
star.
Yeah. He is here today. Sometimes Deontay is here. And then, of course, Amelia, who is tossing out the graphics of the various guests we have today. Mac Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics at 420. And how he looked at yesterday's I guess you could say stats. 109 student athletes have tested. 8 of them came back with coronavirus, 4 asymptomatic, 4 symptomatic. And just give you a little nugget that of the 4, and this is something, Craig, we learned a little bit earlier today, is that Paul was his comment that when we just kind of were getting ready for the interview is that they were not really concerned, not that they weren't concerned. What did he say?
They weren't worried about the contact tracing of it. So it's kind of a situation that's opposite of LSU or Central Florida where they've had all these people congregating in certain areas, and that's caused an outbreak. They're, pretty confident it's just, it's going to happen to some people because
mild cases.
Yeah, they're mild cases.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. There's a lot of people that can take as many precautions as they want and still find a way to get it. I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday, as a matter of fact, she works for some media outlet, and she was saying, I don't understand. I've worn a face mask. I've washed my hands. I've done this. I've done that. I don't go out a lot, and I still got it. So, yeah, you take the precautions depending on who you are, how many you feel you need to take. But, no, it's still a virus that's going to spread. So that's good news that it's, not something where guys are feeling too many of the effects or gals either for whoever has tested positive of the 8. But, yeah, you guys got to talk to him earlier. I'm interested to hear that and hear what he has to say.
All right, and so that's coming up today, 4:20. Also, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com at 5 today. Baseball is going to play. The season will be a 60-game season. And so
So why'd we do all this? So if the players are going to move
question.
forward under the agreement that they already have, and I get that, I think that was their plan initially all along. I think if you want to, contact trace the spread of this baseball disease, it started with the players thinking, okay, we made an agreement in March. This thing dragged on longer than everybody thought it might, because I think they thought they'd be playing by May 1st. I really think, or at least back in spring training by May 1st. And then when it went well past that, and here we are now almost to July, and nothing's happened, the owners reneged on that first deal. So then the players said, well, we want to go under the first deal. But now they're just going to go under the current agreement, and they're going to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that they're coming back. I mean, that's the good news, is that we are going to actually have some baseball. I know some don't like baseball when it's not its natural element. I've seen complaints about the number of games. I've seen complaints about, the universal DH that's now going to be taking over both leagues. A lot of NL fans, baseball purists, are not happy about that. Don't feel like it's even real baseball. I saw that comment a couple of times. But, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of hand-wringing and stressing and do-overs just to get to the point of the MLB making a move that they could have made from the very beginning, really. And I guess they tried to talk this out and tried to, negotiate. But ultimately, baseball just had to pull the trigger, and they had that lever, as we talked about. And so they pulled that lever, and there's going to be a season. And I don't think anything got agreed to, really. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anything really changed from the start of this to where we are now. It's just that Major League Baseball is making them play. So
labor tension, that's all.
Yeah, it's just going to spike up, the future talks. So those future talks are going to be real interesting. And as we've discussed, at length, baseball's not really in a position of power right now as far as their popularity and being able to not have seasons. So they need to get this ironed out at some point. But the good news is we're at least going to have some baseball.
Yeah, and so there will be a 60-game season. They'll start pretty quickly. And we'll see what happens. And last year, at the end of 60 games, the Rangers had the 5th best record in the American League, which would have been a playoff team.
Yeah.
It would have been. That doesn't mean that will happen. A Girl Friday, G Friday 85 on Twitter, at David Smoke, at Paul Catalina, at Craig Smoke, at Cole Barber. Got my workout in early, ready for an awesome program today. And then the old Joey Maguire, not so much Joey, but let's go.
Yeah.
And here we are. So we'll discuss baseball. All right, a couple of things on the table today. Number to call, 254-339-1122. We've got some things to actually, you could kind of pick and choose what you want if you're a part of today's show. A $25 gift card from Wings Pizza and Things in Temple. Free round of golf at Cottonwood Creek, and also have some Chick-fil-A gift cards as well. But baseball, I thought about this a little bit. I've been saying a lot that I don't watch as much of anything as I used to. And I'm like, I still wish it was there. I still wish the option was there. And as much as they have been petulant, I'll watch it. Will you watch it?
Yeah, no, I mean, as soon as the Rangers are on TV and we leave this show every day, when they're on the East Coast, when I get in the car, well, I may have to find a new way to listen, actually, now. I'll find a way around that. But I will find a way to listen. To
MLB app.
Yeah, I will listen to the MLB app and listen to Eric Nadel on the way home. And I will get home and I will turn on Fox Sports Southwest, and I'll have that in the background more often than not. I mean, this time for me has made me realize just how much I don't need sports all the time, but how much I do need it some of the time. And that will be nice to be able to just sit on the couch and have Rangers in the background,
Well, I used to do a thing where certain nights of the week when there wasn't something pressing that I had to watch on, I would do no sports for 3 hours. Because, it's kind of all day, and I would use that time to read or watch something else or watch a movie or a television show that I liked, and I would do that a couple of days a week just so that – and I started – because I would get frustrated with people. I'd meet people, and they would think that all I am was sports. And it's kind of insulting when you meet someone you think – like if I met somebody who was an accountant, I wouldn't think that all you do is math.
So numbers,
you might play golf. You might do something else. So it always bothered me, that was the case, so that's, I would do other things, but I do miss it terribly. I miss baseball terribly. Baseball's very relaxing for me until the postseason when it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun, intense, but for the most part, it's relaxing. And yeah, I really miss it. And I'll watch the Red Sox. I mean, I'll watch probably 58 of 60 games more than likely.
Speaking of baseball, Steve Rodriguez just put out the big growl face, SicEm.
So that's a new commit.
New commitment for Baylor baseball.
From Arkansas.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me find his name.
So we'll have that for you. Also, this question about baseball, 254-339-1122. We'd love to hear from you on the caller line. We'll have Dave Archer, former Iowa State quarterback, who's now a part of the Big 12 radio network. He and Ari, Tony Casillas, among others. He'll join us at 3:30 today. Mac Rhodes at 4:20. Mark Bird, head coach at Whitney. What a year they had last year. He'll join us at 4:45, and David Hellman today at 5, and there's a chance a couple of other nuggets that drop in on the show.
Okay, it's Arkansas right-handed pitcher Travis Hester, who played his high school ball at College Station High.
There you go. So. College Station just right down the corner. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, and speaking of Baylor baseball, Nick Lofton, who got drafted in the first round last week by the Kansas City Royals, he is going to get $3 million. The slot value for his spot was $2.257 million, but he's getting a little bit more than that, so a $3 million deal for now Royals infielder Nick Lofton.
All right, good stuff, good note. Craig, also, one of the things that on SicEm365.com in the premium section, that when Mac Rhodes is on, or maybe even other interviews with players, etc., Craig will do a summary that's more detailed than it probably has ever needed to be, but that's the way he does things. And he also summarized Saturday night's Baylor live event where there were players and coaches available. And we're going to go over a little bit of that from Terrell Bernard, Dave Aranda, among some others on various parts of Baylor football today. And we'll do that in the next segment. So yes or no, are you going to watch baseball? Are you so mad you won't? They make me kind of want to throw up. They're petulant, they're egos, they're spoiled. Whatever the words you want, but I'll watch it. And then the question today, just off to the side. So my tire, my left front tire has had on a couple of occasions a little alert comes up, said my PSI level's too low.
Probably got a nail.
And possibly. So I need to go back and look at it.
If it keeps deflating, you probably got a nail.
It goes down to 28, 29 in the little. So it made me think, and this is not the first time I've done it. The old car, I used to do it all the time. But so, you go to put air in the tire. Mm-hmm. And I've got a device that I can plug into my battery or into the old cigarette socket.
Yeah, I got that for you. That's way more handy than having to go to a
It's
gas
amazing.
station.
And you could put it in the tire, and it's the car
plug it into
pumps
your
it.
cell phone.
And it's very good.
Yeah.
So, but it made me think, we're paying for air.
Yeah, well, it used to be, gas stations used to be, like many things in this country, you would go and a guy would come out and he would fill up your car.
Check your
and
tires.
He would
wash
your
windshield.
windshield.
Yeah.
He would check your tires. Or if it wasn't a full service station, a lot of times you would go up and say, hey, I need some air or some water. Like your car might be overheating and you might need a little water. And so they'd be like, oh, fine, here. And that was complimentary because if that stuff was complimentary, then you come in and you buy a Coke and a candy bar and whatever else. And because you needed it, or you'd fill up with gas there. Now you have to pay, and it's like $2, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a couple bucks, but you swipe your card and it's weird how much stuff we end up paying for. You're right, and I've had to do that more than a few times with my old car. Before I got a new one, I had to refill the tires constantly. So I don't know. I probably spent like $20 in 1 month on air for my tires. So I'm all in favor of the full service return. By the way, I mean, you saying that and the fact that I could not get out of my car and somebody could check my air pressure in my tires, my windshield will get clean, and my gas would get filled up. I am all in favor of that making a return.
I would go by. There was a place, Donnybrook Automotive. I'd go by. They'd check. I'd get gas. All that. It was very convenient. Yes, it was a little more expensive, but it was a peace of mind. And so Greg Tepper, he immediately comes on and says, ice, I'll bring my own bag. Because ice, if you think of that, a bag of ice is really water that's been frozen. But it is a convenience because it's in a bag if you're going to go ice down drinks, whatever they might be, or something else. Hethane also Let's see. Ice, I'll bring my own bag. This is from Butterfly FX, FX_Butterfly. I haven't seen free water and air for a while. Maybe I'm going to the wrong places. No. Air and water both now cost.
I'll tell you
money.
The biggest annoyance with what you're talking about.
And I'm talking about water that you would put into your, like you said.
Right, not like bottled water.
Yeah.
You're like muddy or something, and you just need to, wash
a little
it.
hose, yeah. But the thing that drives me insane is when I was having to do that quite often because the car I used to drive was just such a mess, man. And the thing that was frustrating was when I would have a little bit low air and none of the air machines at any of the gas stations would work because I guess people like break them or they take things from them or whatever. But there was one
PO'd about having to put quarters in them.
I guess. Yeah. And so there's a lot of
places.
A lot
of times they don't work.
They don't even work.
And they don't get the quarters back.
They don't have the right nozzle on there to even put the air in the tire. Like that's been broken off. So yeah, that's hit or miss.
So here's from the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. Steven, I can't stop watching baseball no matter how mad it makes me. It's like the toxic relationship I could never let go. St. Louis Cardinals baseball has been my life since my birth. No matter how mad I am right now, I'll turn the TV on as soon as they play. And also 254, it's a pain in the butt, but that's why you have me. Bring it by and take care of it. AJ, the salesman, and he is the ultimate salesman. AJ, you're right. I got the new car. I've got all this stuff that's attached to it at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. AJ, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you listening.
On baseball, I'm right there. I'll tune in. I don't care, how much of a fight the owners and the players get into. The only way I'm not going to be watching was if they weren't playing. So, like I said a few minutes ago, I'll definitely be watching. I think fans, there might be some of your casuals that don't return, but I just think the fact that you're going to have like the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and all these teams on TV again, it's going to be hard for people to not tune in my opinion, just because we've gone so long now without it. So I think baseball is going to be welcome back.
This is what blew my mind about them fighting about this is a great time for you to get eyeballs on you.
Oh, they've already wasted a month.
Where there was nothing else that you could have, because they're losing fans. And look, Dylan, I'm going to bring Dylan in here on this one. Dylan, you coach a youth baseball team, and baseball for young people now is not as popular as it was even when you were 8, 9, 10 years old, or, go back in the decades, whichever when we were that age.
You can tell how big of a difference it is with young people now, like coaching a younger group of kids, because there's so many times that it's so frustrating to me, like not knowing where the outfielders are lined up when you're on base, or not going through the situations, what to do with the ball when it's hit to you. And those are all things that just come from loving the game and watching it and knowing the situations. And it's weird now. Kids just don't do it the same they used to. They don't live baseball anymore.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys are the betting favorites for this. There's always going to be a Cowboys topic nationally. Yeah. And, of course, locally, the Dak signs his franchise tag. We'll hear from David Hellman on that quite a bit.
How happy was he? With
he was. Yeah,
did you see his Instagram post?
No.
With his cowboy hat on?
Yeah.
I saw that.
It was pretty cool. And so if you're a Cowboys fan, the Cowboys, Dak signed yesterday. We went over that yesterday. And then, of course, you would think that would calm things down. But now Jamal, it's like remember, Mac Roach said he had 25 bucket list things or 25 things to do, and he can't even get past 2 or 3 with all this going on. It's the same thing with them. Check off Dak Prescott. Here comes Jamal Adams, which kind of was simmering.
Jamal
has
Adams
been since October.
Jamal Adams is he's kind of using the Terrell Owens method of doing this. So he was in his car the other day, and he was driving around, and somebody yelled out, "Are you going to get traded to the Cowboys?" And he answered, I'm trying to make that happen," which doesn't mean, for people listening, that doesn't mean anything in the grand scope of things.
But they are the betting favorite. Ravens, 2.
Yeah.
I can see him there. Texans are 3.
Hold on. The Ravens, though, already have Earl Thomas. That's a lot of money to pay 2 safeties, and they have somebody else with Earl Thomas back there. I'm blanking.
Mike Fisher back in October, or I guess it was earlier this week, said that one of the reasons that the Jets wouldn't due to his unhappiness, let's see here, happens to be a trade destination in the Cowboys, but he mentioned The massive contract extension the Jets have essentially pledged to give him, despite that there are 2 years left on his deal. The CowboysSI.com reported exclusively 3 weeks ago that Adams would be more patient regarding his deal if he was dealt with the Cowboys or dealing with the Cowboys. The actual trade package Dallas would have to give at some level, New York is willing to entertain trade offers. But the problem is that the Jets remain irritated that the leaks about negotiations with the Cowboys were out. And so they're kind of irritated with the Cowboys. But in the end, if they can get a trade, they're going to trade it to he can trade into anybody. You'd think they would want to keep him out of the division, which means Patriots and the other team, Dolphins and whoever else.
Bills.
Buffalo. Yeah, Bills. So that's now. It just slides in. It's kind of like it's kind of like the back and forth of national news. If this thing flares up, then the other part disappears, and then this one flares up when the other part starts not to calm down, but is not quite as urgent.
Well, the Dak thing's not over. I mean, it's not like yesterday answers every question. He's been able to answer a question for this year, but not anything past this year. So as much as the Dak news yesterday was good news and just that we have an answer for the immediate question, it's not as though all of the speculation about, the eventual long-term deal he'll sign is going to just disappear now. So that's still going to be a thing until that long-term deal is signed, which it will be signed at some point. But, yeah, the safety talk this is like 4 years in a row, guys. This is like 4 off seasons in a row of the Cowboys and some safety who's an all-pro, wanting to come to Dallas. So, we've done the Earl Thomas thing. We'll see what happens with Jamal Adams. Maybe the Texans swoop in and bring him back to the home state, but certainly the Cowboys are just going to always be that team that's rumored to be involved with any name guy, and so I'm not surprised by this. I think there's maybe a chance it could happen, although I think it's unlikely, and so it's just kind of more of the same when it comes to the Cowboys and NFL talk.
Yeah, and look, I wonder, well, you mentioned the Texans. How many draft picks do they have left to send to the Jets?
I don't know, yeah.
Like, what year are they going to have to? Because Bill O'Brien has been pretty much as dismissive with those draft picks as...
Well, I would think that, being that team that's in the state of Texas, they see Jamal Adams and Earl Thomas, and there's going to be more, and there's going to be others, and there's been others that I'm probably not thinking of that want to come back home, and they always say it's the Cowboys, but if I'm Houston, maybe deal your draft picks a little bit better, and you could actually take advantage of the fact that these guys are wanting to come home, and you could actually pull these moves off, but I guess they're not interested in doing that.
By the way, Rod Webb on Twitter on the free gas, Rod Webb.
That's what I would think. That's the one. That's my vote.
Quick Turn has one. If you have a Quick Turn, they have free air, but there's not one. I just checked.
Quick Trip or...
Quick Turn is what he put.
Oh.
Quick Turn. I looked in it. There's nobody. There's not that location.
Bring
at least
back
one of those in Waco.
The full-service gas station.
Yeah, I'll pay extra for that.
I just Googled that, and because of COVID-19, there's, most of them are individually owned places, but a lot of individually owned places have brought it back because it's an easy way to socially distance. You just go up and, fill up and do the thing.
Some COVID-19 stories quickly. Lake Travis High School. I spoke with Hank Carter about a week ago to confirm. I thought I was kind of giving heads up that area might not be having workouts. Well, Lake Travis football summer conditioning program takes a pause until July 6th. Parents, check your email for a message. And then Jay Plotkin, district confirms the pause is due to COVID-19 concerns. Also, the state of Florida suspended the alcohol license for Knights Pub near Central Florida's campus. 28 patrons, 13 employees test positive for COVID-19.
28 patrons, 13 employees, man. There was no social distancing going on, but they must have had a hell of a time. They were taking advantage of the time they were, allowed to be out finally, but it didn't work out well.
Boise State, go ahead.
What are you doing? That must have been the easiest contact tracing ever.
I
went
really?
to Knights Pub.
Yeah,
okay,
check the video. Yeah,
we can stop now.
Boise State has confirmed football team has suspended their voluntary workouts through Sunday after 8 recent positive COVID-19 tests.
And it's interesting to see which schools are reacting to a certain number, or because they have the same amount as Baylor basically, but they're shutting it down. So it's just interesting to kind of see how they're, determining all that.
I saw this story. Ryan Glass-Spiegel, Tuscaloosa mayor. A lost football season. I don't know how it could be this number, but the mayor says that a lost football season for that football nuts town would be close to the cost of $2 billion in economy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how you can get to the University of Alabama economic impact. 2015-16 home football games had a total statewide impact of about $175 million. I'm not sure about the $2 billion or even $1 billion. But, you kind of look at that as well. People spend money. They come to hotels. They go to bars. They go to restaurants.
Buy
gas.
jerseys.
They get drinks. They get, merchandise.
So,
and much, much more.
Just round that up, and I think it's probably much lower than the $2 billion, as you said, because that's kind of a jump from $175 million to $2 billion, just for, gas stations and grocery stores and things like that. But, yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars for sure. Hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be lost. And as much of an endowment as an Alabama might have, and as soon as, things get to some normalcy, they'll make that money up, with some, ticket thing or whatever. That's still a lot of daggum money to be losing out on. I don't care how much you're getting in TV rights and all that. That's a lot of money.
From Matt in D.C., build through the draft, cut older players, repeat. Stephen Jones will not trade 2 first-round picks for Adams, which is probably what the Jets want. Build in the draft, manage the cap. And the Cowboys, for the most part, have done that.
Yeah.
But when you feel like you're close, no matter how disciplined you are, it's hard not to say that's what we'll change our philosophy for. And the Cowboys used to be known for doing that and regretting it as well.
That's why they did
Except
it with
Dion and
with
Charles
Roy
Hayden.
Williams.
Yeah.
But see, those were both kind of easy, fell in their lap kind of things, free agency-wise, where you didn't have to give up draft pick. I mean, they didn't trade for Charles Haley. He got cut from the 49ers, right?
Don't remember.
No. I think they traded.
Yeah,
Charles
but
Haley to the Cowboys?
Yeah.
That was a trade.
Trade. But Haley was out of San Francisco with extreme prejudice. Like they were.
Oh, he and Seifert did not get along.
They were sick of each other. And Dion was a free agent. What I'm thinking of the ones they regret are like Roy Williams from Texas.
They ended up trading Haley for a second and third round pick, 93 second round pick, 94 third round pick, and you get a Super Bowl defensive end.
They traded
Hall of Famer.
I'll never forget this as long as I live. They traded 2 first-round picks for Roy.
Yeah, no, that was.
Then, like 2 weeks later, the Cardinals sent Anquan Bolden to the Ravens for like a second and a fifth, and I'm like, well, who's the better player?
And you also had the disaster with Joey Galloway.
Yeah,
and that was an injury. It was not, that was something you couldn't foresee. When we come back, Dave Archer, Big 12. You got something else?
Oh, I was just looking at the 2 players they traded Haley for. And
I never heard
very
of either
clear
one.
who won that trade.
When we come back, he's a part of the Big 12 network. He played at Iowa State. Dave Archer, next on SicEm365 Radio.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Have you ever thought about how great it would feel a month or 6 months or a year from now if you weighed less and were in better shape and more fit than you are today? Think about that. Words can't explain the confidence I have because of what I've experienced and what I continue to experience every day at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. I promise if you join today, you'll thank me later. Offering a variety of different classes, over 40 of them every single week, including boot camp on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And there's free daycare. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7. Contact personal trainers Christy London or Randall Corley and let them make you feel better about yourself. Also, world-class tennis facility with Pro Britt Coleman and Director of Adult Tennis and Special Events Joe Rosa. A spacious, clean, and sanitized workout room, no intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an all-new atmosphere that will make you love doing burpees. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Here we go, 3:30 on SicEm365 Radio. A little bit later on, Craig will summarize part of that Saturday night Baylor Athletics interview sessions that was part of the Baylor Network. We'll do that and kind of go over some of the nuggets from Dave Aranda, Terrell Bernard, among others. We're now joined by Dave Archer, Iowa State quarterback, Big 12 Radio Network with Ari, and he joins us, Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke. Dave, thank you very much. What are your thoughts right now, just as a fan and someone who has the insight of college football? Do you feel like some of the flare-ups now might be done in time for football to start on time in, I guess, late August, early September with games?
Well, Smokey, first of all, appreciate having a chance to be on with you. You've been so kind to come on with Ari and I on XM Radio, Big 12 Radio. We sure appreciate all your contributions and the wealth of knowledge you bring to our show. So
thank you.
There's no question that I think these scenarios with teams potentially could be beneficial to, I keep hearing the herd inoculations or herd scenario where you can't get the virus anymore. I don't know that I buy into that, Smokey, and the fact that there's just so many other people on the periphery that are a part of the game, as coaching staffs and all that kind of stuff, that are older people, that are people that have pre-existing conditions, things like that worry me. I do think that the young athlete is going to be able to get through this pretty well. Now, we're not sure about some of these kids that potentially may have some underlying issues that might be affected a little bit more severely.
Hello, Dave.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I think that was me back. Hello, Dave. We lost you. Let me try calling him back.
Oh, he's gone? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry about that. All right.
Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Okay, we'll have him back on. Dave Archer again, Big 12 Radio Network.
There we
Dave,
go, yeah.
you were kind of discussing kind of where we were. We lost you in midterm. You could finish your thought on that?
Yeah, just concerned about the perimeter people that are going to be involved with the game. I do think they have some really good protocols in place as the Big 12 and probably other conferences around the country. We focus obviously on what's going on in the Big 12 and what Commissioner Bowlesby and all the outstanding ADs in our conference do to get their respective universities ready to go. Obviously, there's been a number of early tests. I do think that these tests potentially can maybe ward off what potentially is lying later on. That's why you worry about Oklahoma maybe coming in a little bit later. Be interesting to see how they navigate maybe some later infections or certainly test positive in their realm. But the people I worry about, Smokey, are the perimeter people, the coaches, trainers, equipment people, a little bit older people, maybe pre-existing conditions. How much does that affect them, and how much are you able to separate those guys that have to do some of that necessary work that actually goes kind of unsung that makes you a football team?
Dave, how concerned are you for maybe more injuries this year because you're not having a full offseason program?
I think that the guys now are really pretty good, and I know they haven't had a chance to be at their own facilities, but we've seen some of the makeshift ways these guys are trying to stay in shape. They know how important it is to come in on shape on time. I'm sure the coaches have emphasized, hey, do whatever you can to make yourself ready. Now, football shape and cardiovascular shape obviously are two different things. You got to get hit around a little bit in this game to kind of get some of that football rust knocked off so you are in football shape. I don't anticipate guys there being a rash of injuries just simply because we haven't had kind of a normal offseason.
Dave, what do you think about a fellow Dave in Aranda taking over this Baylor football program for Matt Rule, first year as a head coach, and now with all of the other complications that are going on as well, it's been one heck of a first few months on the job for him.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the perfect scenario, the hand to be dealt if you're going to start your first head coaching job with Coach Aranda. I do think that some of the veteran players that return for this team will aid in that, putting together a new staff and making sure. That's the part we think so much about the players understanding the new schemes, whether it's Larry Fedora, what they want to do defensively with Dave Aranda's defense. The thing that we forget about is how does Dave get his staff dialed in? Now, so a lot of these guys he's known before, he's coached with before, that helps. But there's a bit of a tutoring process that goes along with the way Dave wants the operation run, the way he wants things done, both offensively, defensively, and special teams, that the coaches have to dial in together and have a similar message. So when they do talk to the kids, we're not all over the map as far as different things coming from different directions. Then the kids have to be on board as well. I think the coaches have done an amazing job with the virtual concept of coaching and trying to do meetings. And let's put it this way: as far as this off season goes, Dave Aranda's off season has been the same as Lincoln Riley's off season. So he knows his players a little bit better, does Lincoln Riley, than maybe Dave Aranda does, because they've been able to get together and they've been together for a few years, but their off seasons look identical. So hopefully that will mitigate maybe some of the differences of the new coaching staff for Baylor.
When you play the position you played at quarterback, and you can go out and you could probably throw some to some guys wherever you might go, to local field or practice a little bit, how much would it affect you, Dave? The spring drills you normally would have had, the reps, all that, and the repetitions and the timing with your receivers, plus whatever you could have done during the offseason, how much does that, do you think, change, even with Charlie Brewer being a seasoned vet?
It will be a big effect, Smokey. I think that the thing that probably is something that goes maybe unseen is the timing between quarterback and receiver is obvious. But the understanding of receiver, understanding the times constraints that the quarterback's under with pass rush coming. Because let's face it, it's not pretty and it's not complete and it's not clean most of the time. You have to step around somebody, you have to slide up in the pocket. That might delay the throw a little bit. Is the depth on the route proper to where it meshes up with the timing of the ball coming out? Does he see coverage? Quarterbacks are going to see coverage where a receiver may get redirected. That's going to count for an extra shuffle when a quarterback's drop, so he shuffles forward and buys just a tad more time to put that ball in one of the receivers. You're not going to get any of that. You're not getting any of that. You didn't get any of that in spring. You're not getting in that right now. That's that football timing stuff that only comes with practicing with a bunch of guys around you, trying to throw it out of a phone booth, and then, of course, that pass rush and people coming at you.
Dave, when you look at the conference coming back this year, Oklahoma for the first time is going to not have in a few years have a non-transfer quarterback. Texas brings back Sam Ehlinger. What do you see? How do you see it? Spencer Sanders back at Oklahoma State. How do you see it shaking out as far as who are the front runners at the beginning of this thing?
Well, I think certainly it's again, the Big 12 seems to count on their signal caller, maybe even more so than most conferences do, and I think that will be the case again. I think Charlie Brewer coming back for Baylor is huge. Brock Purdy at Iowa State. There's no question those returning quarterbacks. Skylar Thompson at Kansas State. Guys returning. Can Alan Bowman get back on the field for Texas Tech? He's been elite when he's been on the field. hadn't been able to stay out there. Sam Ellinger, maybe the class of the entire group coming back to direct Texas. And then some of the young guys that look like they may have the ability to get it done. You obviously have to lean on some of the veteran players. The Sam Ellinger, Charlie Brewer, Brock Purdy, Skylar Thompson, those guys, you kind of lean on those players. But I think the elite level players that are around some of these young quarterbacks, whether it be Oklahoma State and Spencer Sanders or around Spencer Rattler and what he's going to be throwing to, maybe changes the equation a little bit where there's maybe not quite as much of a difference. I would liken the Rattler situation much like Lincoln Riley had to deal with when he brought Kyler Murray in. Now, Murray had been there, but Murray had only thrown 21 passes prior to taking over as a starter his junior season. And that's similar to what's going on with Rattler. Rattler hadn't played very much. He's been in the system for a year. So there might be some comparisons there and some similarities there that Lincoln Riley maybe draws on to get him ready to go. But I certainly think that Oklahoma is still, because of their elite level athleticism, is still going to be near the top. Texas, if there was ever a time, Sam Ellinger certainly hoping so. I think Iowa State and really Charlie Brewer with Baylor are going to put them in the mix as to what's going on because of the veteran quarterback leadership.
Well, speaking of Iowa State, we've been doing a kind of a pop quiz thing on the website, and one of the questions a couple of weeks ago was, what game on Baylor's schedule do you see as the toughest? And they've actually got a very tough non-conference this year with La Tech and Ole Miss, which is a big departure for them. But I said Iowa State up in Ames. I just think that's going to be a tough game. Now, granted, if there are no fans in the stands or half the stadium's empty, then maybe it's not as imposing. But you mentioned Iowa State as one of the teams you expect to contend, but it's been kind of hard to get over that 8-win hurdle, and it's great that 8 wins has been established as almost an automatic now with Matt Campbell. But do you see this as a team that can maybe take that next step, or do you think they're still a ways from that?
No, I think this is a team that certainly could step forward and potentially contend and be in a position to potentially play on the last weekend of the Big 12 season in the Big 12 title game. But they're going to have to win the close games. They're going to have to do what Baylor did a year ago. Baylor found a way to win those football games. They were in some tight football games, but there was never any panic in Matt Rule or his staff, never any panic in Charlie Brewer, and those guys got it done. Can Iowa State learn from some of those moments where they didn't get it done? Lost early, won a really close game early in the year, lost to Iowa in a very close battle between the two state rivals, and then subsequently lost close games in the Big 12 to Oklahoma, to Baylor. And then it did not look very good at the end of the year. And I'm hoping, as an Iowa State guy, I'm hoping that the last part of the season leaves a bitter taste in their mouth. Did not play well at Kansas State, pretty much got ran out of the building there. And then Notre Dame handled them in the bowl game. I think those two should leave some bad taste in their mouth so they come back and they play at a higher level.
You know, the thing about what Baylor has been through, it's hard to imagine, but it's not. 4 coaches since 2015. Briles, Grobe, Rule, and now Aranda. Because of some of what they've been through, and I asked this to Ricky Thompson, who does sidelines for Baylor football, I asked this question because of a lot of what they've been through and now what they're going through now with COVID and also with a lot of what's going on, turbulence in the country. Do you feel like that possibly what they've been through can make them mentally tough to handle now?
Yeah, I think that, Smokey, I think what they did under Matt Rule, the 1-11 season and turning it around and being what they were a year ago, 3 years later, I think that kind of changed the direction of Baylor football. Yes, there's been some great moments in Baylor history, and certainly in recent history with Art Briles and everything they did there. Jim Grove, what a great man he is, a difficult situation to come in the situation he was in there, and then Rule taking over. I think that class that came in and went 1-11 and then went through and did what they did a year ago really kind of changed the culture there at the university, so that Dave Aranda is not picking up a loose cannon or a loose ship here. He's picking up one that's on the rise. And so I think that they went through there and then fighting through and finding themselves a year ago with some of those close wins and being as good a team as they were really has changed the direction of Baylor football.
Dave, you played in the NFL. You also played in the CFL and the World League. What was it like playing in those other leagues? How much fun was that? Was it a grind? What was it like?
No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, obviously there are different experiences. The World League experience was one that I had been a starter in the league in the NFL early in my career through my own bad play, and then coaching changed. That changed, and so I found myself in a backup role. I wanted to kickstart my career, so I went to the World League and played. We were able to win a championship that group of players there were all fighting for the same thing. They were all fighting to get back into the league in some capacity because all of them had had a taste of it, either been cut in camp or been on the team, much like me. And so that was a really cool situation there. Going to the Canadian Football League was fun in the fact that it was just, you got to throw the ball every down. If you're a quarterback, I mean, asking these guys that are slinging it in the Big 12, you want to throw it as much as you can. And we got to throw it a ton up there, and I had a lot of good guys I had a chance to play with. And so it was a lot of fun to play in Canada. They treat the game in Canada much like we treat the college game here in the States. It's banner waving and painting your faces and stuff like that, smaller stadiums. So it felt much like college football with the reverence they treat the game up there. So a lot of fun to do both.
Dave, thank you very much. Craig, anything else? Hey, Dave, thanks for jumping on. I also appreciate it anytime you invite me on or others. We love being a part of the show. Thank you.
Smokey, appreciate you guys. You guys take care. Thanks for having me on.
David Archer, part of the Big 12 Network. Ari, also at times, Tony Casillas has been a part of it. Iowa State. His college career, he came out of Utah. Played junior college at Snow College.
I wonder how much, and I just had this thought while he was talking there, I wonder how much the hot seat's going to be different this year because of all the things coaches are having to deal with. Like, I think the guys who are already kind of walking that ledge anyways, that danger zone, they're going to be expected to have at least an adequate season. But for the guys who are kind of borderline, like maybe their schools are looking at getting rid of them, you know, is this going to be too weird of a year to really make that type of a judgment call on somebody? Or are we going to have enough in front of us to say, like, yeah, this guy's not the guy for us?
Save Shaka Smart.
Yeah, it saved Shaka for sure.
We think it did.
Well, I mean,
it looked like he was on his way out.
He could have gone and won a couple tourney games for all we know, but yeah.
But, you know, how do you make that decision right now? I think this is, and especially, here's another thing that's going to save a lot of coaches, is buyout clauses. Do you want to buy a guy out and pay another guy when you're going to lose money anyway? They're not going to make their full boat this year.
Well,
they know that.
It's going to be hard to explain how you can swing the $10 million buyout, but you had to cut softball, you know, things like that. So, yeah, that's something that just kind of popped into my head. But I'm just curious of how, because it's going to be different, if there is a full season, whatever it takes to get to that point, and there's actual results, like what's it going to change that we'd normally have? And the college coaching carousel is one where I think there's going to be some schools that just don't have the choices they normally would have.
Well, so maybe we could say it. Jimmy Sexton has saved non-revenue sports by because the agents and getting these huge buyouts. I mean, you think about, all these guys who get the full value of their contract on their buyouts almost. And you fire a coach after a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, and they still have 3, 4, 5 years left on a deal that you're going to have to pay out. Do you maybe want to wait until you hit that benchmark in the next year where it's more palatable? Because no athletic department in the next year and a half is going to be operating at their full profit margin.
No, and most are going to probably be losing money. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you do if you're a school that doesn't have football? I mean, I guess you've found ways to make it work. Are you more or less – I mean, I guess you don't care about the football season. You feel like your sports aren't starting for a while. But, yeah, for those schools that really rely on football, which is the majority of those out there, a lot of fingers crossed right now and the effect that it could have. But there's going to be effects like the coaching carousel and buyout money and things like that maybe some people have thought about or just stumbling on like I did, but there's going to be some other things we're maybe not even thinking of that'll be a part of this season.
Carl Campbell on the text line, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. A week ago, Craig, I read an article about that situation. With money losses, coaches won't be given the buyouts. I would expect a few coaches being fired this year. Now, if there's a buyout in your contract,
you got to get.
You have to pay it if you're leaving to go somewhere else.
Maybe new coaches,
or if you're fired early, the college has to pay it.
New coaches, maybe if you get a new job, you're probably not going to to get the same deal.
Yeah, unless your agent probably would not be real thrilled about that, and neither would you if you don't get that.
And maybe. We were saying with Mac Rose a while back, with this name, image, likeness situation that the NCAA and everybody involved there basically screwed the pooch when they had the opportunity to have all of this time in front of them to figure out name, image, likeness, how that could work and how it could work more in their favor. I mean, by not really working on it, they allowed others to basically take it over, and they could have really, I think, helped themselves in many ways if they've been more proactive with this. But this is a time, if there ever was one, for reflection and thinking about different ways of doing things. And I think college sports, we already had this conversation with them about name, image, likeness, but this would be a great time to start looking at some of these contracts for coaches and going, geez, like, I know you bring in a lot of money. Like Dabo Swinney's unlimited amount of money. I totally get that. Lincoln Riley, whatever, Nick Saban. But, when you got guys going to Virginia Tech and they've got like $7 million, I just think that there's some things that could change for the better, and maybe that's another area that during this time is looked at and reviewed a little bit.
When we come back, the National Hockey League has announced at least 6 cities. They've knocked off a couple of the hub cities. How does that affect perhaps Texas? Because Dallas is a part of that mix. We'll come back with that as well next on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
So the National Hockey League has narrowed their list, its list for the hubs whenever they resume play. And unfortunately, the city of Dallas is out. Would have been pretty neat to have a chunk of teams in Dallas. Pittsburgh also eliminated Vegas, Chicago, LA, Edmonton, Toronto, and Vancouver, 3 of the 6
are from Canada. Columbus was scratched off the list on Monday. Final 6 cities were reported by The Athletic. Vegas is now considered the U.S. favorite to host playoff games unless a couple of the Canadian cities are selected.
I would think, though, that Vegas over anything else, if you want to keep people, because right now nobody's in Vegas, really, you could take over some hotels and keep people pretty sequestered.
Yeah, you would think so. There are a lot of hotel rooms available right now, and that's why Orlando made so much sense as well. For Dallas, I'd be interested to hear if there's any sort of an explanation on why they were eliminated. I mean, you got to eliminate somebody, so it's not like they were alone in that regard. I did see today where it was announced that there's 5,000 new COVID cases in the state of Texas, 5,000 brand new cases. And, I would imagine a large chunk of those are up in Dallas-Fort Worth, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But, yeah, that's a missed opportunity for sure. I think, there's a good batch of Stars fans and hockey fans up in the DFW that would have been, all ready to go fill up the AAC or wherever and root on some hockey. But, not going to have that opportunity. So we'll see. Chicago, big hockey town, L.A., they all make sense. So not all that surprising.
Redbeard25 on Twitter on the question about what is it that you pay for that you think should be free and air in your tire at what would be normally the convenience stores or whatever. He said there's a free air pump.com is where you could go, and no matter what city, because we're having audience that listens to us from coast to coast and up and down the various highways of the country, but also in Central Texas and also the state of Texas. Freeairpump.com can find you a place. Paul said there's the Exxon on 35 on Baylor campus.
Yeah, that's the one we have
for free air.
So my request to the 254 is, let's do better. Let's get some more of that.
More than one. I'll tell you, it was weird. I actually went out a bit last weekend and have not been hardly by the Baylor campus at all since the beginning of the year. Maybe like a handful of times just driving by, but that is normally I'm there like 2-3 times a week. Same with you guys during a normal stretch. And I guess now we would technically not be going around there all that much, but man, it's wild to get out there and actually see some. And it's the first time you've seen something in like weeks or whatever. And spoiler alert, I-35 still bad. Still lots of construction.
It's worse now.
It's way worse
than it was. I've only been on 35 a couple times since all this started, and I'll avoid it. Even when we're out of all this, I'll avoid it until the construction's done as much as I can.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the progress, if you want to call it that, that's going on over there. Is they just dig up everything, and yeah, it's just weird how much you get used to driving by somewhere on the daily, and now realize, hey, I don't really have to go all the way over there that much anymore. So looking forward to making that regular once again.
Just got a text from TJ, who was in an accident earlier today. Someone T-boned him.
Oh, man.
On Hewitt Drive. He said bad news, or the good news is the response time in Hewitt is pretty quick, extremely quick. He was in a work vehicle.
I don't know if we should. The person who T-boned him is a celebrity.
That lives here?
Yeah.
Well, I would say I would leave the name out.
Yeah. That's
I've never heard of that guy, though.
Yeah, I'll tell you who he is in the break.
All right. All right, 4 o'clock hour, 4:45, we'll have Whitney head football coach Mark Bird at 4:20. Baylor's director of athletics, Mac Roach, his thoughts about the latest results, the testing of the Baylor student-athletes, 8 of 109, 4 asymptomatic, 4 symptomatic, and he mentioned that the 4 symptomatic cases were mild. We'll have more details from him. And then at 5 o'clock, David Hellman on the Cowboys. He's the one that popped the Dak Prescott story that he actually had signed the franchise tag. This is SicEm365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home. Waco, Woodway and Hewitt, China Spring, Martin, Hillsboro. Familiar faces making local decisions. They're here to help you, your family, and your business. Whether it's great times or tough times, all of us need a bank we can count on. Great people, great technology dedicated to their customers and helping our area grow. Safe banking in person or use their online and mobile apps and convenient drive-through window and ATMs at all locations. Let me just tell you about a couple of their products, like the First Free Checking. When they say free, they mean free. No minimum monthly balance, no monthly service charge, unlimited check writing, and unlimited debit card purchases. Plus, they've got the First mobile app now and online banking, so you do your banking wherever you are, check balances, make transfers, pay bills, and transfer funds. The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations: Waco, Woodway, Hewitt, China Spring, Mart, and Hillsboro.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Drive forward at Allen Samuels. Get big summer values on new Jeeps, the vehicles of summer. Get 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on select Jeeps, plus new Jeep Gladiators featuring employee pricing for all. New Ram Lone Star Crew Cab 4x4s feature up to $10,250 in values. Shop safely in person or shop and buy online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Ask for details.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day, payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Elliott. What a half. Touchdown, Dallas. Touchdown, Elliott.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Mac Rhodes will join us at 4:20. Today, Dylan Chapman is in studio with us. Paul, Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke. This is SicEm365 Radio. Also at 5 o'clock, David Hellman on Dak Prescott, him and the franchise tag and other stories surrounding the Cowboys as well. So Saturday night, Craig put this up earlier today on his Twitter feed. So Saturday night, Baylor had an event that was hosted by the Baylor Sports Network, basically, Baylor Athletics. And I have some of what you tweeted out, and I'll read it, and then you can kind of maybe, I guess, discuss it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and I want to say they did a great job with this. I did not get to watch it all in full, like every moment of it. I didn't catch a lot of what Charlie Brewer had to say. Maybe this is the most eye-opening interview Charlie Brewer's ever done. He's pretty chill with what he normally has to say, but I did not get to catch every single question and answer. But I thought that for those who put it together, they did a really good job, and I didn't really know what to expect. I thought it was just going to be kind of a, I don't know. I didn't really know what it was going to be, but it turned out to be like pretty much well over an hour of Dave Aranda and Charlie Brewer, and they brought Clay Johnston back to do some interviews, and also, there was like 2 or 3 others that were all a part of this as well. Ron Roberts was a part of it. Terrell Bernard was a part of it. Brooke Bednars and John Morris hosted, and there was some interesting things that were passed along.
So I'll go kind of read through it, and then we'll lead this into the Mac Road segment at 4:20. Aranda, when we're not coaching, we're recruiting, and when we're not doing that, we're meeting as a staff. He's now moved to his house in Waco, remodeling going on. He's using one free room as his office and bedroom. Although he said workers were closing in, the family should arrive sometime in July.
Yeah, apparently the family is saying all of their last goodbyes currently in Baton Rouge, and July, like the beginning of July, when we're expecting most of the coaches to start, getting workouts going and returning and all of that, that's when he is expecting his family to finally make their move to Waco. Obviously, the house is pretty, under construction right now, or under remodeling right now, so I don't even know if they'd have places to sleep, as he made mention of. He's kind of got the office/bedroom act going on. He did make mention, and I didn't put everything out there in the tweets because it's kind of hard to do that, but he did make mention that he is the only coach on campus right now, football-wise, but he's been on campus, and I don't know if he did the event Saturday night from the office or from his office bedroom, but whatever it was, I think it might have been his actual office, because there was some Baylor stuff in the background. So that had started to be kind of put together. But, the family should arrive here in the next couple of weeks, but saying their final goodbyes.
His thoughts on Larry Fedora. And we've heard him. Of course, he had his introductory press conference, and eventually we've had him on before. He was on the first show we ever did, April the 6th. He had a couple of Zoom press conferences, but on Larry Fedora.
Well, go ahead and just read what I put there, because then there's other stuff I can fill in.
Fedora was always a name he had in mind when he was looking at his head coaching job. Blessing, it's something he wanted to do that Fedora did. He relies on Fedora and his expertise and experience, looking to learn from him. Their working relationship has been very good.
Yeah, so, one thing we've learned about Dave Aranda is that he is always looking to learn more about the game of football, and I think it'll be a great thing for Aranda to have the knowledge that Fedora possesses at his fingertips, amongst some others, but George Munoz, for example. So I think Aranda will become a better coach just with who he's surrounded himself with. And he said when he was at Delta State, Larry was at Southern Miss, and he'd go check out practices as coaches will do, and he always just kind of observed him from afar. And in the coaching circles that Aranda says he keeps, it's always about learning and continuing to learn. And a guy that would always get brought up would be Larry Fedora, and what he does and how unique and innovative it was. And so he'd always heard so much about Larry and observed him from afar and appreciated what he did. But once he had the opportunity to actually go and hire him, that was really appealing. And so he was glad that it worked out, and I think that'll be a fun combination.
Aranda on the players and staff, great meetings last week discussing racial injustice, getting to the heart of the matter, proud of where their heart is and feels good about the connection between the players and the staff.
So they, I guess, did the meetings like last Monday and Tuesday, or last Tuesday and Wednesday, but it was over a couple of days, and they had Aranda speak, and then Corey Campbell, who's a head of strength and conditioning, he spoke to the team as well, and then they broke them off into position groups and just kind of discussed amongst themselves what all was going on. He said that the players showed a lot of vulnerability, and they showed, the ability to listen and to learn and to open up. And it just sounds like it was pretty therapeutic for everybody involved. And it was something that, every program out there is trying to navigate and talk about and figure out how to best talk about. But, given the weird circumstances that we're under, it sounds like they were able to find a way to really have those kind of heart-to-heart tough conversations and You would think the program's going to be better as a result of that. I think having a minority head coach, is certainly something that helps in relating. And, I think that'll pay dividends, those talks that they're having right now, getting that all out in the open. But he said multiple times just how impressed he was with the players, their work ethic. And we've heard this anytime we've interviewed coaches, but, they've really hammered it home how much, these players do their jobs, and they're not afraid to study. They are not afraid to work hard. And it makes it very exciting to know what the coaches already kind of see and what they eventually want to do and what the players already kind of see and what we know that they can do. It's just going to be really fun when that day ultimately comes where they can actually just, work together.
Dave Aranda, George Munoz. I'm looking at the coaches, the look of the coaching staff as far as ethnicity and also a different color. Justin Johnson, Brian Stewart. They've done a nice job. He's done a good. I don't know if you saw a story about Lovie Smith at Illinois. He finally spoke. He's one of those guys you were waiting to hear from him. And I reached out, and we were in line, and he ended up talking with I think a reporter, probably with the Chicago Tribune. He has 8 African-American or black assistant coaches on his staff. He said, how can we move up through the system if we ourselves are not in the system? Mm-hmm. And now, again, Illinois last year made a bowl game. Now, you got to succeed, and that's what he learned under a Tony Dungy or Herm Edwards.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody's got to do it, right? If you're waiting on everybody else to hire, assistant coaches or minority assistant coaches, then if everybody's just looking around at everybody else to do it, then nobody's actually doing it. So that's a good thing.
I had a chance to run into Justin Johnson. Didn't even realize it. It's a big dude now. I'm talking about he's a big guy. He was a running back at Houston. He's the running backs coach. I was at Ridgewood. This has been about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And he's on the putting green. I didn't know who he was because, we've only seen him once.
I don't even know what he looks like.
And I would I'd recognize him again. And some of the other coaches you might, Fedora, whatever. And obviously the ones that are back. Brian Stewart's also one with a familiar face with his time at Dallas. Wickline is too. But he's on the putting green. And we start talking. I'm supposed to tee off just out there on a Saturday afternoon. We end up talking 30 minutes. He was fantastic in giving me a lot of just like insight on from the move to getting a chance to relax a little bit to whatever he could talk about without being specific about recruiting.
Well, he's already had an impact in recruiting, and I think he'll have just a bigger and bigger one as this process goes along. But no, he's a fast rising hot young head coach, and I think Aranda's done a great job of not only mixing some veterans like a Fedora or a Wickline or a Ron Roberts, but also mixing them with some younger coaches like a Juice Johnson, like a George Munoz, among others, Sean Bell, et cetera. And I think, too, the staff is very diverse to what you were originally talking about. And, you don't ever want to, I think, go and do that, intentionally just to say that you have a diverse mix of staff or we better have, 2 black assistant coaches and 2 Hispanic, or whatever. I think it's just a natural thing that came together. But I think when you do look at the Baylor coaching staff, it's very diverse. Absolutely. It's got to be one of the most diverse in the country. And I think that'll definitely be a help moving forward, with the times that we're in, especially.
That doesn't count Corey Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, their strength and conditioning coach, who in fact was someone who spoke before they broke into position groups. Aranda did with his team, and then they broke into position groups as well. Then obviously his thoughts about Joey McGuire and Sean Bell, and
I didn't include Wetzel in there. He did mention Wetzel too. He said Wetzel's somebody that he talks to, at least once a week or two. I think that's more stuff that he'll probably talk to him a lot more once they're able to go out on the road and mix and mingle and do those types of things. But he was very, very high on all 3 of the Texas high school football head coaches. He may mention that with some of the talks that they've had to have, that those guys have been instrumental in those as well. I mean, they've been around the players a couple years longer, obviously, or 3 years longer now at this point, Bell, McGuire, and Wetzel. But, very complimentary. Those guys said Bell and McGuire in particular, he expects them to be college football head coaches one day. So very, very nice words from their boss.
And then one of the notes you mentioned from Terrell Bernard and about Aranda, how he's smart. He calls him. They call each other, watch film, adjust things here and there. But this is the part that I like. Terrell Bernard, and the strength of the new defense will confuse the offense. Lots of moving pieces and guys who can play multiple positions, which is kind of what they started to do a little bit last year. They tried to do it a couple years ago. Didn't work as much, but it did last year. when you start to have players who can play different places and just kind of bring them from all directions.
Well, Bernard,
yeah.
He was not the middle linebacker to start things off with, and then that Clay Johnson injury last year. I know a lot of people were high on Terrell Bernard, but I wasn't expecting him to come out and play like he did. I mean, that dude came out and he was one of the best linebackers in the country. And
Clay was making up for a lot of things.
Yeah,
he was playing so well that you think, okay, well, what's going to happen? Because
he made up for the mistakes.
Yeah, so
his sideline to sideline lateral speed and quickness and instincts was allowing people to make mistakes and you didn't know it.
So yeah, but your thought as well. There's going to be at least a little bit of a drop off, and Terrell Bernard not even one speck of a drop off.
No.
Just came in and did the same.
Runs
thing.
a fumble back in for a touchdown against Oklahoma State that seals that game in his first start, I believe.
Yeah, he's stinking good, man, and he's going to be definitely one to the guys like him and Charlie Brewer, the seniors this year. Those are the guys that I'm really hoping we have a season for, because in the case of Terrell Bernard will probably go play in the NFL. Charlie Brewer, not as likely. So, this could be the last go-round for some of these guys. That's why I'm really hopeful that they can have as normal of a season as possible. But Bernard coming back and saying things like that about what they're going to do defensively is exciting.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Craig. It was a great summary. And I didn't watch it. I didn't, and so that's good to kind of get an idea of. And it's kind of the first time we've heard from some of these guys in a long, long time, and it might be a little longer. Taylor Bryant's out this week. He was out last week. I've reached out to him a couple different times, and there might be some access here at some point. You hope, even if it's the Zoom type stuff. But that was neat to see, and they did a great job of putting that up. D. Carter, $2.99. Remember the old thing, my question about what is it we pay for now that you think should be free?
Yeah.
And air in your tires, one of those air machines you would think would be fine. How about chips and salsa at a Mexican food restaurant? That's not, you don't get charged for that.
It's kind of included in the overall
cost. It is, but
though, yeah.
I have a question. Why do they give you so much of that? Because sometimes I'll go, if I'm hungry, I'll knock down a bowl of it pretty quickly, and along with the green or the regular hot sauce, whatever. Doesn't that affect how your stomach might be hungry? When I know you want to get drinks, but doesn't that affect maybe what you would order, not more, if you just start downing chips before, especially if it's a place that's busy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think people they're just counting on the old American gluttony to carry them through. Sure, I want the number 4 that's got one of everything. Yeah, let's do that. I'm not. They don't think about people don't think about chips and how full that'll make you.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I guess they don't make me that full because I feel like I could eat chips endlessly and then get the meal and then eat chips after the meal as well while waiting on the bill. So, yeah, they've never really, the free chips and salsa had too much of an effect to me. I don't know what the mindset is behind that because people still order their regular meals. So I don't think it really has too much of an effect on what's being ordered or anything.
Yeah, but let's say you went in there, you're starving. And, you're going to a Mexican food restaurant. There's going to be some that eat less than others. But most of the time you're going to get enchiladas, tacos, something that's got a little bunch of beef in it or whatever. And if you start pounding down some chips and hot sauce, one, it might make you thirsty. You want a couple of beers, too. But it's never affected what I've wanted to eat. But it's kind of like that. I wonder if it has ever affected somebody that's gone in there starving, then you start pounding down some chips and hot sauce, and then you're like, I'm not even hungry anymore.
Oh, it's happened to me where I've gone in and eaten some chips and hot sauce, and then they bring my meal, and I'm like, I'll need a box, thank you. I'll have one bite of it, and I'll be like, this is really good. It's going to be great tomorrow.
Matt in D.C., and this is interesting. He goes, if Clay Johnston stays healthy, I think Baylor beats Oklahoma both times. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that for a second of what would it have looked like if Clay had stayed healthy. Terrell would have still had a fantastic year because he was having a great year as an outside linebacker. But if Clay had stayed healthy, that would have been interesting. Right. I don't know.
Here's a good text.
This is great from the 678. Yeah.
As a part-time server, we hate when we drop free bread. Order an app, order food, and then don't stay more than an hour 30. Don't get me started on campers.
So those are the ones you just hang around.
Yeah.
They just kind of
get all the free
They
chips,
sit
free
at a
bread.
table and they're there for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, they get free chips and bread. Look, I promise you, even if I'm not hungry or if my party is there, we will be ordering drinks or something that's going to keep it going.
Right.
And I won't do it in a busy restaurant. Let's go sit. We can go sit in a park and talk. There's plenty of places you can go if there's people waiting and you're sitting there. You've already eaten your food.
I will say that while the chips and salsas never really gotten to me or affected my meal too much, the free bread, on the other hand, that one is a little bit. That will fill you up.
What's the
free
place
bread.
that there's a couple of places the free bread?
Well, like Olive Garden or but
Macaroni Grill does the thing where we don't have one here, but have you guys ever been to Macaroni Grill?
Yeah, they used to have
where they
one.
have like the olive oil and
it's
and
kind of a
bread
nice
and,
mixture.
Yeah.
All right, 4:18 is the time. That's a summary of what Baylor. The last time you've heard from the coaches and our players.
Yeah, and there's obviously some things I left off because I didn't hear I put out like 12 tweets this morning, so there's new content for you on the Twitter feed, but I think I hit most of the high spots. I didn't catch much of Charlie Brewer, but I don't think I probably missed too much from him, just based on history. And I wanted to say thanks to the people that put that together. I thought that they did a good job with it. I think Brooke Bednarz has grown into that role that she's doing there with Baylor Athletics, and she did a good job. So, it was cool to hear the coaches for the first time in a while.
When we come back, Baylor yesterday released the latest stats on COVID. 109 student-athletes have tested. 4 have symptomatic, and 4 have asymptomatic of COVID-19. What does Mac Rhodes think of those numbers? Thoughts about what it all means? Big 12 championship game. Is there a chance coming up that a team might play 9 games in conference play and one might just play 6? Is that even a possibility? We'll get into with Mac Rhodes, Baylor's Director of Athletics, next on SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they continue to try to get some of these used cars off of their lot. They are overloaded, as I've been telling you now, for about a month, and they are trying their best to get these used cars and trucks off their lot. Over 100 in stock. A lot of work to do to still move these pre-owned vehicles. Over 25 used trucks, all at discounted prices. But they've also got the new as well. How about the new Buick Encores, the perfect crossover SUV? It's got a roomy interior. It's packed with safety features and the latest tech. And it's also a pretty quiet ride. Right now, you can get a Buick Encore for only $19,900. That means you're saving $6,000 on a 2020 Buick Encore. If you're still looking at that new vehicle, well, you've got the luxury style and power in a new SUV. If you decide to go with the Cadillac XT6, 7 passengers, so you got a lot of room. You can experience the thrill of driving a Cadillac XT6 or the XT4 or 5 models right now at Richard Carr. And the XT4s right now are only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. You get great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor alumni. They want the chance to earn your business. So stop by the Daily Disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home because your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. Find them at richardcarr, KARR.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Waco's newest gym Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mac Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor Director of Athletics, Mac Rhodes, with us on SicEm365 Radio on this Tuesday afternoon. Mac, the statistics came out yesterday, and I would say anything other than zero is not good, but considering some of the flare-ups at other campuses, which are double digits in some cases in the 15 to 30 range, were you somewhat at least relieved it was not higher?
Yeah, I mean, I think, overall we felt fortunate, felt blessed, to test 109 total so far, right? And to only have 8 positives, 4, symptomatic, 4 asymptomatic. Again, felt fortunate. We're extremely grateful that the 4 symptomatic are mild. And so, yeah, when you start doing the contact tracing, the primary contacts, even though we don't release those numbers, that is relatively low, right? We're not in a position or a place where we're having to shut down anything or adjust anything, to date. And as we all know, this could change, very, very quickly. But so far, we've been really, really blessed. And now next steps for us is for our infectious disease response team. Right, they're meeting today and just reviewing and making sure everybody felt comfortable with how we onboarded the previous groups of student athletes, and then do we move forward with the fall sports? And we have, as mentioned before, we have targeted right after 4th of July 6th for our soccer and volleyball teams, and then July 7th for cross country men's basketball, and then July 13th for women's basketball. But those are still tentative dates, and again, we'll see how we feel at the end of the day or tomorrow.
Mac, how much of what you are doing right now in your athletic department and conference talks and other athletic departments is various scenarios? Just listening back to the call you had last week, you had a couple of those thrown out. For example, the insurance thing that Cedric Golden asked you about that you hadn't thought about yet, but it kind of goes into the hat, so to speak. How much of that is preparing for what you said was going to be not a normal season?
Yeah, I mean, if I understood the question right, we're spending a lot of time thinking about all of the different scenarios, right? And I'll give you an example. Just on a Big 12 AD call where, talking about game interruption policy, right? And what does that look like, right? And if you have a certain percentage, for example, of scholarship student athletes that can't compete, right? Is that game, canceled? That particular institution now all of a sudden can't participate, and then, is that game then becomes a no contest, and so having to think through so much of this, and there's so many moving pieces, so many moving parts. You think about trying to come together on the standardization of surveillance testing once you get in season, and what's that look like across the board, and we've talked about that. So, it's a lot to digest, a lot to think about, and you're doing the very, very best that you think you can to be prepared for what's right in front of you today or tomorrow, but then also having to think about 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now.
Is there a chance and again, what's more important is the health and safety, but is there a chance at the end of the year you could have one team, a football team, that plays 9 games in the conference and another one that might play 6 or 7?
Yeah, it's a great question, and yes, you could have that, that situation, that scenario, and again, just trying to get across to everyone to try to adapt the mindset that we're all fighting, scratching, and clawing to make this as normal as we can, but it's not going to be normal, and that's not a defeatist attitude, and that's not a glass half empty attitude. That's an attitude of just trying to be prepared and trying to wrap our minds around what truly is reality, and making sure that we're walking into this with eyes wide open. And we could get into where there's certain games that just can't be played, and there's not a makeup date for them, and there's been discussion out in the media about the Big 12 championship game, and is there flexibility to move that back a week or 2 weeks, and I would say that we should be considering that, and we should try to have some flexibility with that championship game, and certainly I would think that other conferences are doing the same, because nobody can tell you today for certainty that we're going to play all 12. You don't know that yet.
in regards to fans in the stands and all that's obviously still a fluid situation. I know that at least in Texas, Governor Abbott has said, that there's a plan in place for have people there, but do you just kind of have to react to that as it comes? Is that one of those things that's almost kind of have to be a last-minute decision because of how this will be?
Yeah, I think you've got to prepare for different scenarios, right? And so you've got to prepare for 75% capacity, 50% capacity, 25% capacity so that you have, all three plans ready to go. And there's certainly overlap amongst all three, but, then when's the trigger point, right? Of, all right, when now we got to go with this plan, right? And, we're probably most focused on, a 50% plan because of what's Governor Abbott has talked about, but got to be ready with all three and then be able to pull the trigger. And again, right, you gotta have a really well thought out plan, great plan, but then you got to be able to execute it and execute it at a high level. And so, that's what we're trying to do. And, as we get further along, I think as we get to mid-July and certainly to the end of July, I think we'll have a better sense of where we are in the reality of 12 games, the reality of starting, on time. Right now, when you just think about the sport of football, we're doing voluntary, workouts. We're able to social distance. We're able to, in the weight room, right, no more than 20, 25% capacity, et cetera. I think where it's going to be telling is when we start the required football activity and the contact, and then what happens in terms of the disease and the spread, and now also thinking beyond just your student athletes but also your staff. And so I think there's some key checkpoints for us, and I would say that those are probably every week beginning July 14th, and every week for the next 3 to 4 weeks, I think it will start to give us a picture of what the fall season will look like.
You have said, and a lot of people have said, administrators and whatever, that they feel like the season will still start on time and there'll be football on time. Have the numbers, is it almost like we're looking at these numbers like they're the stock market in some days? Not just with your program, that's every week, but the reaction is, oh my God, every day, instead of let's see where we are, as you mentioned, July 14th?
Yeah, I think what has happened, to be really honest with you, is a dose of reality. And in order for us to have a best chance of playing and making sure that our student athletes first and foremost are healthy and safe, and our staff is, it's like anything else when you're up against a great opponent. Everything counts, everything matters, and everybody has to do their job, right? The first time somebody doesn't wear a mask, or the first time somebody doesn't wash their hands, or the first time somebody says, hey, you know what, I'm not going to go quarantine for 48 hours. I'm going to go, play cards over at, this house with 20 people, right? That's where we get into trouble and we falter. And so, it's been a dose of reality. It's probably, made us maybe less optimistic about, completing an entire season without, any interruptions. Because now it's right here in front of us and you're dealing with it. Right. But, again, I still maybe I'm just not very smart, but I'm still optimistic that we'll play and that, we'll do it in a really safe manner and a very, very healthy manner. And, where our student athletes feel comfortable about it. I think I said that in my press conference. We got to make sure first and foremost that our student athletes, parents feel comfortable and that, they know and understand that we care about them and their health. And, if there's any one group of student athletes that just doesn't feel comfortable coming back, then we get that, we understand that. And we've got to, work with that individual or those individuals, right, in terms of a plan as to, how they do come back. And, this is hard on everyone, and including our student athletes, or starting with our student athletes, and just finding a way to be sensitive to that and being able to address it and move forward collectively, together.
Are there, I don't want to say renewed or heightened efforts for mental health availability for student athletes and your staff, given, just the whole world going on right now and everything that everybody is taking in and having to deal with?
Yeah, there is. And I would say that it started, 3 months ago. I always think back to mid-March, and the Big 12 tournament in Kansas is kind of the trigger point. And I would just say, Paul, that, probably 2 weeks after that, so maybe right around the end of March, really began to think about and to worry about just mental health and started with, student athletes, because, all of a sudden just their world just was rocked, just changed, completely upside down. Now all of a sudden for spring sports not having a season, now all of a sudden all athletic facilities closed, right? And this day-to-day routine, no longer classes on campus, everything online, move, go back home, right? And just, man, that's dramatic change. And the sense of community as well, when you think about, that's really important to people, right? The sense of community and being together. And, I'm somebody that likes to hug people, right? And man, it's been hard for me that you can't do that. And so, we've done the very best we can. Dr. Monique Marshbell, who's on our staff, that heads our mental health, and then others. I think we've done the best we can to be there and to help our student athletes. But then beyond that, now all of a sudden your staff, and it's also hard on staff. So, it's and I'll tell you the very best medicine, I think for all of us, quite frankly, is has been prayer. And I'm grateful for all the people that are lifting up our student athletes and our staff and everybody in prayer. So, thank you everybody for all of those that are doing that. And then also, making sure that we have the right mental health support for our student athletes and staff.
Mac, you mentioned, I think it was on Friday in that Zoom conference, that you have, I'm a list guy. I always seem to have a list of 12 to 15 or 22 things that I need to do. And no matter what I get done, there still seems to be 12 or 15 or 22 left. You had mentioned that you had this long list and then Cedric dropped another one on your list. Do you ever look at that list and say, my God, I'll never get through it?
That's why I don't look at the list.
That would hit close to home, Smokey.
Yeah. No, you're right. You bring up a great point, and I have that list right of things that we're very, aspiring to do and to get done during, what we so-called quote unquote thought might be a break. And it's been everything but a break. And so now there's this completely other list that's probably all we're focused on. And I would just say, we get into this new list and we get so entrenched in it that, every now and then you got to kind of remove yourself and say, okay, let me look at this other list over here, the things that are aspiring, the things that can really, even catapult us more forward when we think about the next year to 5 years. And so you can't lose sight of it, but it's really hard to be attentive to it right now.
Last thing we'll ask, and we appreciate your time, Mack Rose, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with us on SicEm365 Radio. Yesterday, we had David Kay, Head of Athletic Communications, obviously Athletic Communications for men's basketball, who was in our studio, and Kevin Barrera, a Baylor alum as well, who was at home because they had a kidney transplant. That David donated his kidney to a friend that had been a friend of his since back in the days of college. When you see members of, he's not the only one that does that. There are people all the time, but to have someone like that on your staff to do such an unselfish thing to help somebody, what does that make you feel like?
It's a great reminder of what an unbelievable place that I get to work at, and what unbelievable people that I get to work with. And let me say this, what was the best thing about David doing that is he didn't tell anybody. And it was really something that he tried as best he could to keep to himself, and certainly didn't want any recognition or accolade for doing it. And again, just speaks to who he is as a person. And it's a broken record. You heard me say it so many different times on this show. You win with people, and there is no question about that. There's no denying it. You win with people, and again, what David did is just a great reminder of what a great blessing it is for me to work with such tremendous people.
Mac, thank you. Appreciate it as always on Tuesdays, usually every Tuesday at 4:20. Mack Rose, Director of Athletics at SicEm365 Radio. Thanks for your time, Mac.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
These make a great pair. Each are phenomenal bargains from Allen Samuels. The new 2020 Jeep Cherokee and new 2019 Dodge Journey. Save thousands now as we drive forward into summer. Journey, the great American crossover with third row seating, just $16,995 for select qualified buyers. And the Go Anywhere Jeep Cherokee, just $29.90 and eligible for first responder $500 bonus cash. Journey, Jeep Cherokee, summer bargains from Allen Samuels. Ask for details.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by buy a defective product, or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm 365 Radio. The SicEm 365 Radio poll is brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, where everything purchased and installed comes with our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. 220 Lake Air Drive or CreateACommotion.com.
Here we go, this 4 o'clock hour, and we'll have Mark Bird, the head football coach at Whitney. What a story they were last year. They were a fantastic story. We'll have that for you here in just a minute with Mark Bird, head coach at Whitney. Craig, there's an updated story on Bubba Wallace, NASCAR, and I believe the FBI investigation into the alleged noose.
Yeah, so this past weekend you might have caught the story about, Bubba Wallace being NASCAR's only black driver. He had a lot of support shown towards him over the weekend with the race that was held at Talladega, and there was a report that, a noose was found in his working garage, so there was a lot of back and forth on this. NASCAR was actually the one to kind of take the top off of this story. They were the one that kind of put it out there, I guess, over the weekend, so it was reported on by them initially. And just like anything else, kind of wait to see what the end result is going to be. Not that stops, anyone from, forming an entire story in their own heads of what exactly happened. But here's from NASCAR. Quote, the FBI has completed its investigation at Talladega Superspeedway and determined that Bubba Wallace was not the target of a hate crime. The FBI report concludes, and photographic evidence confirms, that the garage door pull rope, fashioned like a noose, had been positioned there since as early as last fall. This was obviously well before the 43 team's arrival and garage assignment. We appreciate the FBI's quick and thorough investigation and are thankful to learn this was not an intentional racist act against Bubba. We remain steadfast in our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all who love racing. So that noose was actually there back in 2019, and it was just a garage door pull rope that had been fashioned that way. Marty Smith, who's pretty popular due to College Game Day, also has NASCAR coverage for ESPN. He came out because I guess he'd been pretty vocal about this, and he said, NASCAR, Bubba Wallace was not the target of a hate crime. I don't even know what to say. And there's a lot of people that are, and Marty Smith's a very well-liked guy, and rightfully so, but there's a lot of people that are, getting at him in the mention saying, well, when you take a story and you run with it, this is what happens. And, there were a lot of people in NASCAR saying a lot of things over the last few days. So turns out that, while they probably still do have a lot of issues they need to clean up, the Bubba Wallace story was, in fact, not the story that we all thought it was.
NASCAR President Steve Phelps will address FBI findings at Talladega shortly. That's from Marty Smith on Twitter.
And I was adamant yesterday that if there was somebody that had done something like that, then let's catch whoever that is. Let's, do what can possibly be done. I mean, obviously the loss of a job. And that was if there was somebody. There was nobody in this instance. So, that's another example of you have to let something play out.
Trying to figure out with Mark Bird, we might have to move him back if he's not available. We have coming up at 5, David Hellman.
Let's see if we can do him at 5:15.
And I'm working on, 5:15 or whenever we can. Dallas Jackson, a picture of actually the garage door or the garage The noose was on the pull down for the race last year, and this year there is no mystery here. Here's one of the things that we have gotten to the point where it's frightening to me. Two things to me. One is, and you guys have heard me say this, I don't know anymore who to believe.
Oh, I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Secondly, we no longer, as journalists, you are supposed to fact check. Now, I understand the heat of the moment with what's happening with what appeared to be a noose, black driver, NASCAR, with where we are in America, but it just took off to the point where, Bubba Wallace was yesterday like, and he's a great dude. Well, but somebody has to make sure here. That was everywhere.
Yeah. The facts will eventually, if you just report facts, will eventually shown through. Because as much as reticent as people are to change what they believe, like when you're just presented with straight facts all the time, eventually you just have to wrap your arms around it. But now that everything is so sensationalized, it's hard to grab it. And if you just report the facts about what's going on with Bubba Wallace and, NASCAR fans waving Confederate flags at him and the things that he's going to have to deal with, the facts of that's a story enough. Just like with any politician. If you have a politician who's a negative person and probably needs to be voted out of office but has enough supporters because he can paint the picture of they're slanted against me, everybody's against me, if you just say the true things about a guy enough, no matter what job they're in, it's going to come out. So the truth shall set you free is the old cliche, but it's very true, and that's what we don't have in the media right now. Nobody knows what to hear and listen
now
to.
People want to shoot holes in what the FBI or the NASCAR statement. I can't remember. This is Andrew Giapazzi. This is not adequate explanation. Why is it fashioned like a noose at any point in time? Garage doors can be pulled shut without a looped handle.
Oh, shut up,
If
dude.
it was already there, wouldn't Wallace's crew have seen it upon arrival? Was it moved? NASCAR. See, that's the point here.
That's a guy that doesn't want to believe it.
Yeah, somebody made him. It doesn't fit his narrative. It does not fit his agenda. This proof sounds like there's nothing wrong with, by the way, the reaction yesterday, but we don't.
By the way,
we don't get enough proof anymore for anything.
By the way, what we heard today is good news.
Yeah.
No,
good news.
No, you know what? For some, it's
upset.
not.
Yeah,
people are
upset.
There's going to be some that are like, no, they're just trying to cover.
Well, there's a lot of people.
Drivers, go ahead.
There's a lot of people out there that, like you said, with their agenda or whatever, they refuse to believe anything that's outside of what they believe, and that's not mental illness, but to me, it's closing in on it. Like when you are so refusing to budge from just what you want to believe and what you think, that you let actual facts just get dismissed because it's not what you want to believe. That's not mentally healthy. That is poisonous. And the number of people that wake up and look in the mirror every day, and I just feel like somewhere deep down you've got to have something in your body to where you can at least acknowledge when things are wrong, but like there's just so many people now that it's all about their idea of how things are.
One way or the highway, it's only one way, and you can't go. It's like I said, the most people who want the most tolerance are becoming the most intolerant. But in this particular case, by the way, J.J. Joe with a neat, and I know this is not the moment, we'll make sure we do that with J.J. Joe's tweet to you on your talking about Terrell Bernard.
I want to go back to the media is so awful. The media is so awful. But, the guy talking about wanting more answers because why would – dude, if I had a hanging rope that I was using to pull down my garage door, it's probably in a loop because that's the better way to pull it down.
But was it an actual, I never even saw a picture of this thing.
Right, me neither.
Dallas Jackson. Go look
okay.
at Twitter, yeah.
But, so that's what if it's a noose.
Is it?
Oh, pick up. Okay.
No, the other one. The other piece.
Let's do that in a second. Let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's a picture on under Dallas at Dallas A. Jackson on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, because I've never even seen a picture of it. I kept waiting to see that.
And what his tweet from 6 minutes ago, this was a picture from a year ago, the 21 car.
It's the smallest noose I've ever seen. Not that I have a big, it wouldn't even fit. I don't even like talking about a noose and people's, but I don't even see how this, unless this was taken from 100 yards away, which it was not. There's no way this would even fit around somebody's head to go around their neck. And, I know it's more about the symbolism. I mean, it does look like a noose. It looks like a very small one. It also looks like something that could pull down the garage door, which is what it actually was. So, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not going to change anybody's way of thinking. Everybody's going to continue to knee-jerk and automatically assume the worst and then be disappointed when the worst isn't the actual truth, which is, I think that says far more about where we are today than, anything else, honestly.
Yeah. So that's an interesting twist. And see, what that does is that doesn't help. When you and I understood the reaction.
Well, no, because people are already calling him Jussie Smollett and accusing him of making this whole thing up.
And yes, and then the other part of it is that the way that NASCAR reacted and the way I saw dozens, and again, my Twitter timeline with the amount of media, dozens of people when the race was going on rooting for him. I get that. You want Bubba Wallace to win, just like they wanted Tyrell. Who was it? Not Tyrell. 2 weeks ago, the PGA Tour tournament that was being led by one of the black golfers. He was a really good dude. And, I want to see him win. Don't force the issue. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with rooting for a guy when things are the way they are, but there's other guys in the tournament.
Yeah.
Don't just because Bubba Wallace, because of this incident, you wanted Bubba Wallace to win the race. Why didn't you want him to win last week? Because this has been going on for 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah. What you should also want.
Why didn't you want him to win 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks ago? Because you didn't care?
It's for there to be more Bubba Wallaces.
Yeah, no, there you
go.
go.
You don't have to,
Like in golf, PJ Lee Elder and Charlie Sifford and eventually Tiger Woods among
that's
others.
what we want is more of that. So that way, just let him cut his path, root for him, but putting the weight of the whole NASCAR world on him is also not fair to him.
Again, NASCAR needs to provide. This is that same Andrew guy. I want to read this. Again, NASCAR needs to provide more detail. Was it broken off and laid somewhere that's was spotted later? Simply, all is well. It's not enough. But NASCAR needs to provide. No, there's a picture of the garage door and the
look. Some people they could show the rope being made. They could show him video of the rope being hung as a garage door pull-down device. And this guy is the type of guy who I can already tell will go, yeah, but I didn't. But that he would have some other excuse because he's being told something he doesn't want to believe and cannot accept
prove
that.
it too, and pictures prove it.
FBI.
Yeah.
But whoa. Now the FBI. Now this is where it gets political. The FBI has been discredited by the right and the left now. Nobody likes them, because they're not there, but they're only being discredited because the thing they say is the thing you didn't want to hear.
Right. I'm pretty confident in their ability, no matter where they've made missteps in the past, of them being able to get down to the bottom of this. It seems like it took them, all of a day and a half to get to the bottom of this.
If there's pictures from a year ago in the garage,
then that's all you need to know. That's all there. That's proof that was there well before they ever had any idea that Bubba Wallace was going to be in that garage. So that's case closed right there.
Yeah, and it's another wake-up call, and us doing a better job in finding and digging through and not rushing to a story so quickly.
How many reporters are deleting their 10-page manifestos?
Some of them are like, but.
Yeah, I mean, you're right though. I mean, that goes for all walks of media and life. And I'm glad that there's some truth to what exactly did happen that's coming out. That's all I was hoping for, because again, if it was somebody who had done that, find that person, root them out, and punish them accordingly. But if it was also a big charade unintentionally, then let's dig down to the bottom of that as well. And so they found out what it was. It was not what people thought it was, and yet I feel like people are disappointed that it wasn't what people thought it was, which is the saddest part.
Yeah, and so we'll get to the J.J. Joe tweet about Terrell Bernard on what you were talking about, Craig. Also, we didn't get Mark Bird. I'm going to try to track him down from Whitney. That's disappointing. We'll try to work on that. And then also David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com will join us as well. Man. So here we go. Kerry Martin Jr. earlier today went public, West Virginia safety, on allegations of mistreatment by defensive coordinator Vic Koenig. Koenig. He's been placed on administrative leave. So stay tuned for that story as it pops and what is the truth and what is fact. It's 501 SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Heavy-duty product. I made you nervous, Paul. I remember sitting down with Braden Embry. It was just a few weeks ago. He and his father, John, they love SicEm365. And I did endorsements for them on the radio for a long, long time, and it was so thrilling when I sat down with Braden and was, hey, let's do this again. Craig's done them as well. Family-owned and operated since 1943. Customer service is not just words or lip service, it's a big deal. They offer metal buildings, components, metal roofing, structural pipe, you name it, structural steel, beams, channel iron, flat and angle iron, square tubing, and more. Very large inventory of all of it. They can also help you with a project, whatever it might be, offer you suggestions on the design, and provide you with a list of reliable contractors. High-quality materials. Metal building bids that are structurally sound. They offer the fastest turnaround time in business on metal building orders. And again, heavy-duty product. And they'll deliver it to you wherever the site is and also help you unload it. 1943 is when they've started, and they continue to thrive. And in fact, they got some great news coming by the end of the year later on with some things that they're doing to grow and get bigger, better, faster, stronger, which they've done for now, 77 years. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in both Waco and Bryan. Open on Saturdays if you can't get to them during the week. 8 until noon on Saturdays. Family-owned and operated. The Pioneer Boys, both Waco and Bryan, pioneerboys.com. Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Erie Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
With basically the division on the line as Pollard is able to get loose, stays in bounds for the touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
David Hellman on Tuesdays at 5 on SicEm365 Radio from DallasCowboys.com. And David Hellman yesterday is the one that popped that Dak had signed his franchise tag. And I guess, David, that's great. There's so many people trying to get so much information. That kind of just something that you worked on a little bit and it all worked out for you?
It seems like for the most part, sometimes that stuff just kind of falls in your lap. And, obviously, we heard on Sunday that Dak was planning to sign it. I think that caught a lot of people off guard. But, when you hear that he's planning to sign it on Monday, it's a little bit easier to get some confirmation the next day, and it worked out. And, I think most people are a little surprised that, such a high-profile franchise tag guy would sign so early. But, at the very least, the Cowboys have some peace of mind that Dak's going to play quarterback for him this year.
Well, David, it at least stops all the Cowboys should just go ahead and trade him to the Dolphins for a draft pick, or that was going on back in April, or, he's unhappy and doesn't really want to be there and he's furious with the Joneses. That at least puts a pause on all this until, I guess, July 15th or next February when we can start it all up again if they don't get a deal done by July 15th.
Yeah, we kind of joked about it before we started the segment, and honestly, maybe I'm just cynical, but I don't think it changes a whole lot. I think most people kind of think, Dak's doing his best to increase his leverage and get the long-term deal that he wants, and the Cowboys are looking out for their interests. I don't think very many people actually thought Dak wasn't going to play here in 2020. Jerry Jones said all the way back at the Combine that he had no intention of not owning the rights to Dak Prescott's contract for even a single minute. He made it really clear that Dak wasn't going anywhere, and Dak, for his part, aside from trying to get a new deal, he's made it pretty clear that he wants to be here too. So, there's always going to be a segment of people that want to see what else is out there, the people that want to trade him or try to draft the guy. But I think the prevailing logic this whole time has been that Dak would be in the fold for 2020. And one way or another, I still expect him to get a long-term deal, whether it's in the next 3 weeks or, maybe we have to do all this again in 2021. I really hope not. But one way or the other, I think he gets a long-term deal.
What is the benefit? It's obviously guaranteed for him. What's the benefit of signing a franchise tag compared to not?
Well, like I said, and we've talked about this. It seems like every time I come on, we kind of talk about the way COVID-19 is going to affect the season. And like I said, it's a little bit surprising for such a high-profile guy to sign before the deadline. There's no real reason why he needs to from a obligation standpoint. But by signing it, my best guess is Dak and his team looked around and said, "Look, man, this virus could really impact business in the league and the amount of money that's available. So let's go ahead and just make sure we get this thing signed? Because the minute he signed it, the Cowboys are committed to paying him $31 million. So they're good to go from here on out. And maybe, like I said, maybe he just wanted that peace of mind to know he'd have that in his bank account.
From a negotiating standpoint, though, does it take at least a little of the tension off the table in that now there's guaranteed not to be a holdout?
Well, so yeah, and I've seen a lot of people suggest that maybe this is a sign of good faith. Dak signs the tag and says, "Look, I'll be there for training camp. Now maybe we can, not have it be so contentious, and we can just sit down and work this out." For my money, though, I think I've probably said it on this show. I've said it a bunch of times. It never made a lot of sense to me that Dak would legitimately try a holdout. Because, if the deadline passes without him getting a deal, negotiations are done until 2021. NFL rules prohibit a tagged player from negotiating after the deadline. So, Dak could sit out of training camp, but it would not do anything to get him a new deal. The Cowboys wouldn't be able to give him one if they wanted to. So really all he would be doing is cutting into his own practice time, which would hinder his own performance, which would affect his bottom line. So I never really believed that he would try a real holdout. But like I said, maybe this is a sign of good faith that, hey, I'm under contract. You don't have to worry about me. And maybe now we can put all that behind us and sit down and really negotiate over these next few weeks.
If, in fact, he signs a deal prior to that time, at least there's money in the bank because there's guaranteed money, bonus money, whatever, signing bonus money. I got a question as far as logistics. If, in fact, he was to sign a deal, or anybody was to sign a free agent or a contract with bonus money, but they only play half of the season or they play 3/4 of the season, do they still get that same signing bonus?
Well, I mean, anything that's guaranteed when you sign the deal
is guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be language. Some of those guarantees are built into roster bonuses. Are you on the team on the on the 5th day of the league year 2021? A lot of it's built into workouts. Do you come to the off-season workouts? Are you here for this many OTAs? Blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, there is a portion of your deal that's guaranteed the minute you put pen to paper, and Dak would absolutely be entitled to every dime of that. It's the incentives, it's the bonuses, and to be frank with you, I don't know how it would work in terms of performance. NFL players are paid by the game week. You get a check every Tuesday for each week that you play. So if the season is shortened, I don't know how it affects that aspect of a contract. And I guarantee you that's going to be a hot talking point if the season is postponed or shortened or anything like that.
Is it still your understanding that they're pretty much just apart on years, or do you think this is an overall dollars thing?
I think years is the big thing, but I also think that there's probably some contention on the dollars as well. I don't get the sense the Cowboys want to make Dak the highest paid quarterback on average salary in the NFL. And there's a lot of people that agree with them on that. And then, it's kind of the back and forth of that's sort of the way quarterback contracts work. When it's your turn, it's your turn. Ask Kirk Cousins, ask Jimmy Garoppolo, ask Derek Carr. A lot of guys with similar or lesser resumes that Dak Prescott have pulled that off. But like I said, I think the years is really the bigger sticking point. I think if they can agree on that, the money will probably fall into place.
What in America do you have to pay for that you think should be free?
You're asking me personally?
Yeah. I did this because today I have a new car, and these new cars tell you if like even anything like my PSI level on a tire was a little bit low. So this little yield sign popped up, and so I have to swipe my credit or debit card to get air in my tire. And I started it just
used to be free.
Yeah,
you could just drive to a filling station and just say, "Where's the air?" And the guy goes right here.
So it made me wonder, what do we pay for that? Absolutely, there should be no cost other than breathing.
I mean, I'm laughing because that is a question that could have some serious ramifications. And then you talk about tire pressure, which is kind of trivial. I'm a big believer that healthcare should be free, and not to launch into a political conversation, but Yeah, I can think of a few things that I would love to not have to pay for. Yeah, it would be nice to not have to swipe my debit card when my tires are low.
There's a pretty big chasm between that and healthcare, though, David.
No, that's why I'm laughing, is because when you asked me the question, I was like, oh man, do we really want to talk about like Medicare for all?
Yeah.
And then we wind up talking about tire pressure. I mean, as far as trivial things, oh man, I'm not prepared for the question.
Yeah, that's okay. It's one of those. You know, we could come in today and discuss this, and we've got guests, AD Mac Rhodes, we've got David Archer from the Big 12, of course, was on with us. But, I jotted it down. I'm like, why am I paying and swiping a debit card for air when I pop it in there for like 8 seconds? And it's a little bit too much for me. In this day and age of so many more serious topics on the table, hey, I just thought I'd bring it up.
You know, I was happy. I had a car that had tire problems for a while before I got them replaced. And for a while, I was having to get quarters. And you go in like, I only have 3, I need 4, so I've got to go in and get change. Maybe I don't have any cash, I've got to do that. Then when they got the debit card thing, I was like, it's about time. And I'd completely forgotten that it used to be just free.
Yeah.
As a courtesy.
That cracks me up on it. Now I'm thinking about it, I was one of my more recent gas station experiences, I needed ice for an ice chest, and 2 bags of ice at a gas station cost you $6 or $7, which it's ice. It's literally just frozen water. I mean, I could make it for free in my kitchen.
Yep.
So yeah, that would be nice if I could just grab a bag out of the cooler. But I mean, kind of the way gas stations work, right? They mark stuff up because they know that you'll buy it because it's there.
One more thing, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, and I know you got things to do. LSU got hit pretty hard with the COVID test. Baylor's been very fortunate, 8 of 109, which is still 8 too many, but it's one of the better numbers among most of the people who have been releasing results. Do you think we're going to start the college football season on time?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's kind of like the Zeke thing with Zeke being diagnosed, right? It's like you have to expect some positive tests, but I'd also like to think LSU players are smarter than to be at the bar district in Baton Rouge, which, the story says that's kind of how it all started, is there was this big outbreak at the big bar neighborhood. But, I mean, have fun controlling 130 18 to 22-year-old kids who are in the prime of their life and want to party. I think it's going to be really difficult. I think there's too much money at stake to not have a season in some form or fashion. Yeah, I mean, you can translate that to the Cowboys too. I mean, in a regular year, the Cowboys are one of the Hall of Fame game teams, which means they're allowed to start training camp 10 days early. In a regular year, we'd be leaving for Southern California on July 16th or 17th. And I mean, you look at the calendar, that's not far from now. And as of right now, there's really not a lot of information about what the NFL plans to do. So, I don't want to speak out of my depth, but yeah, it's pretty easy for me to imagine that football season is going to be pushed back if it has to be, especially, every time somebody tries to get together, whether it's Zeke or Clemson or LSU, a bunch of these college programs. I mean, it seems like people are getting diagnosed every time somebody tries something. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a pretty big roadblock.
David, thank you. Have a good evening. David Hellman with us on
Thanks,
Tuesdays. Thank
it.
you. From DallasCowboys.com, this is SicEm365. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Ram, a legend of loyalty. Alan Samuels, legendary customer loyalty. Now bringing you special Ram pricing to kick off summer. Pick the perfect Ram 1500 regular cab with special incentives, including $500 additional first responder bonus cash. Now just $22,990. Or pick up a loaded up new Ram 2500 HD Limited 4x4, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Now with up to $12,000 in savings. Drive forward. Ram from Alan Samuels.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by, let's be friends.
But not track down Mark Bird, head coach at Whitney. That's okay. We'll figure that out. We'll get him on. Good. He had a hell of a team last year, remember. My goodness, they had a great team. Beat Grandview during the district, and then eventually Grandview went on to win a state championship yet again. Tomorrow, we'll have Cameron Yost, Tommy Brashear. He'll join us. Also, former Baylor wide receiver Jay Lee, John Machota, and a couple of others that will join us on the show. Now, to what the Jason King, and again, this NASCAR, Bubba Wallace, the noose, the garage, and all that information, the FBI has released information that said this was not a hate crime, and there are going to be some that rebuff that because it was the FBI. But
there were apparently 15 FBI agents that worked on this case.
Jeez.
15 FBI special agents. This is a joint statement from U.S. Attorney Jay Town and FBI Special Agent in Charge Johnny Sharp Jr., said Monday 15 FBI special agents conducted numerous interviews regarding the situation at Talladega. They concluded that no federal crime was committed. FBI learned garage number 4, where the noose was found, was assigned to Bubba Wallace last week. Investigation revealed evidence, including authentic video confirmed by NASCAR, that the noose was found in garage 4 as early as October 2019. Although the noose is now known to have been in garage 4 in 2019, nobody could have known Mr. Wallace would be assigned to garage number 4 last week. So they're not pursuing federal charges. They thanked everybody involved, and that was the end of that. But yeah, 15 FBI special agents were doing this. And
as most people have reacted to it, even those who may not, but it's good news that this was not specifically, at least it appears that it was not the act of a hate crime.
Well, I think I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just think it's very important that we put this into context of social media of what a drop in the bucket it is. And I say that all the time, but too many people live on social media and it becomes their normal.
Yep.
It becomes their reality.
Yep.
And they take what some rando on Twitter says way too personally or, way too to heart or whatever the case may be. But I think today says it all. If you want to know the gist of kind of social media and whatnot, that instead of the majority of people out there right now going, man, this is fantastic. This is such great news. Like, everybody right now should be saying how great this news is and how fantastic it is that there was not any ill intent like we thought 24 hours ago. But instead, I'm seeing mostly disappointment or nuh-uh, show me this. And so that's all you need to know about the mindset of the minority of people on Twitter, the 2% of the actual population that actually, populate that site.
I'll equate to something in our business. You can get a caller on the phone. And we even had this happen this much on our show over the time that you and I have been doing it, but it's happened before where you get a caller, you have a topic, the caller says something so insanely ridiculous. It's just one guy who had that belief. And then none of the other callers that you have in the segments after that can get away from the silly thing that guy said. You can't have a productive discussion because they're like, well, that guy said, yes, we've established that guy is nuts. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That was a silly thing that he said. Please let it go. But you can't get your handle of it. That's Twitter. A few people say something that's really silly and stupid, and then the majority of the people who know that that's not true will then spend their energy trying to disprove the idiot when the idiot disproved himself already. I mean, just by being who they are.
And there's more idiots than there are, people trying to get the truth out there, which is why you see a lot of false news that gets spread so much further and wider than the actual truth. And so, yeah, you got to be careful, man. And there's far too many conversations I hear nowadays where within 2 minutes of somebody talking, you can tell where they read something, or you can tell that they didn't do any research past what they initially read, so that they're just regurgitating like some random publication, and you realize that this person doesn't have all the information, but they're acting as though they know every aspect of the story, and it's just crazy to me. Like, nobody is open-minded. People have such a hard time of just saying, you know what, I was wrong about that. Like, do you realize how hard that is for people to do? Like, how rare that is for people to even say now they're just wrong about something? And it's not a big deal when you are on like 99% of the things you might be wrong about. It's okay to be wrong about stuff, but it's like people just have their heels so dug in. And I'm thankful. I'm glad. I'm happy about this story. I'm happy that nobody apparently intentionally went and hung a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. That is something we should all be happy for, because otherwise there's some blatantly racist dude out there hanging nooses in NASCAR garages. So thankfully that's not the case. And this should be a story that we're celebrating, and maybe that's too strong of a word, but that we're encouraged by, while also analyzing why this story got to be the mess that it was. Thank you, media. But instead of probably looking inside and looking at the people who reported it to begin with, we're now questioning the reporting of the end of the case. You know what I mean? It's just it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
RG3, yeah, no, I agree. It goes back to what I've said, that our profession has lost its soul. The media profession. Talk show host, we don't have to be called journalist. It's important to me. That doesn't mean I always do it right. But in this particular case, we just jump at whatever. There's a commercial on television right now. You may not like it, but there's a commercial on television right now, and I happened to see it, and I didn't quite understand it, of somebody, what looks like somebody running a car out of a neighborhood. Have you seen it? Mm-mm. It's a commercial of what appears to be a young lady takes a video of what looks like a white guy running an Uber car out of the neighborhood. At least that's the way it's portrayed. Come to find out in the end, it was an Uber driver who was stuck in ice and couldn't move, and the neighbor helped push him and was going, go, 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 go. But none of that gets in it until later. The point is, we are so bad about, we see something, we shoot it, this is fact, without what happened 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, or even what really the story was about.
And we'll spend 5 days analyzing something when we think it's a certain way, but the moment we find out that it's not actually the way people thought it was, we spend less than 5 minutes correcting all that false information. It's like 5 days of energy spouting or spreading falsehood or the negative, and the actual real truth and maybe even a positive, it's just dismissed immediately because that's not what people want to hear or what they want to believe. And that's so frightening to me that we're so locked into our own personal wants and views and things like that. I know that's not going to change or anything like that, but still, it's just scary.
RG3, by the way, was a part of a Zoom meeting. Larry Fedora, great words of wisdom from RG3 today. Just the start, hashtag just the start. All right, so we're now joined. We're joined by Mark Bird, the head football coach at Whitney. The hell with the football team or winning against Grandview and being who you were. We got to tell the story of where you've been with your phone.
Well, my phone was put into my wife's vehicle, again, the one who wears the pants in the family. But it was out of my control, and it was gone to the grocery store. So the groceries got the better end of my butt today.
Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. Well, we're glad to have you. Mark Bird, the head football coach at Whitney. Last year's team was fantastic, 11-2. I know it didn't end the way you wanted, but, man, what a year. How much, even with the weirdness of whatever offseason this has been, how much did that carry over for your program?
It was great. The expectation has definitely gone up here in Whitney. And, I think it was just a great community bonding because whenever I got here, I didn't know really what all the history was of Whitney. And each week I got a call from Smokey and got the update, hey, you've kind of set the bar and taken this program to a different level right now. And so it really got some excitement going around here, and it's carried over in all of our programs. Kids are excited to be in the Wildcat program. Wildcat Nation is it's not just a term anymore. It means something. And, the town itself has really, really rallied behind us.
Coach, when people talk about that being contagious all the time, you see it. It happens at Baylor. When teams are all going well. Do you see like the kids attacking things differently because they know the taste of winning now?
They do. Kids come in with a sense of urgency. They come in with, what are we going to do today, Coach? Do better today. And, that gives a coach hope. That gives a town hope. And, at least you've got something to work with. And I think that's all we want is just give us something to work with and let us just keep that work ethic going.
What's the lives been like for your players over these last few months? The lack of being able to go to school each day, which could be kind of a good thing initially, but I'm sure it gets boring. The lack of practice, the lack of really, just normal life for everybody. But how do you feel like your young men have handled that?
Ours have handled it pretty well. I think being rural is definitely a plus. There's no doubt that Lake Whitney itself is a plus. But, it's a different work right now. What are we doing at the house? Where are we spending most of our time? Of course, again, being rural, we got a lot of that ranch hand kid. We've got a lot of kids that are yard workers. We've got a lot of kids that, get out and bust their tail just for the family. So, that work ethic has not changed a whole lot, but just where does that correlate now into athletics? And the best thing is most of our kids are out doing something. They're not just sitting in the house.
You had a young man in Devin Wilson. He wasn't the only one. You had others that were very, very good on the team last year that went 11-2. But one of the things that happened last year is Garrett Peacock got a lot of time. In fact, he's the one that led you on the game-winning drive to beat Grandview 26-21. How much does the time that you moved Devin around as much as you did allow Peacock to get experience that should make a huge difference for him this year?
Going into the season, we knew that we were going to have to groom the next guy. And so with Garrett being available to us and, a solid head kid that he is, it was just a bonus every game he got in. And, man, what leadership skills he came through with and just the valuable playing experience that's going to translate to this year. We're excited to see what he can do. And it's going to look a little different. That Devin Wilson project always going to have have that spark to it, but I think you're going to see more of a controlled, true offensive game, where it may not go out the back end. It may be the play that's called, because sometimes we did the Devin Wilson show.
You were a part when you were a part of a team that beat a number one team back 20 years ago when you beat Refugio in the semifinals when you were at Ganado. And then to turn around 19 years later and do it as the head coach with Whitney, beating the number one team and defending state championship. How do you compare those two wins?
Anytime you can go against a number one, it's always a plus. But I think just that hill, and once you finally climb that hill and get over it, there's not a better feeling, And I think if you can just follow it up, it's hard enough just to go out there and win weekly. But anytime you go in and you beat a caliber team and you play a caliber, night, that just is pivotal. And it's one of those top of the mountain projects, and I'm just glad I've been able to do it, and hopefully one day it fills into a ring. We all want the ring, but I still think being able to do it and play top programs is what we all coach for.
Mark Bird, the head coach at Whitney, to put things in perspective, they were 10-2 back in 2014. And they usually, my gosh, there was a stretch of 20 years or almost 30 years where there was a lot of 1-9s and 0-10s and maybe a few 5-5s along the way. What did you see, Mark, when you moved there? You mentioned kind of the players, the young men that you have. What did you see that drew you to Whitney?
I saw a town that wanted to make an investment, with facilities, but I saw also a team that had ideas. The community had ideas. It just hadn't matriculated, as well. But I saw we had talent. I saw that we had kids coming. I saw hunger, and so if you got a couple of those things, and plus the girls' athletic program it was right there on the rise as well. And when I first got here, I thought our girls' program is better than our boys, and they had they were just built right as far as athleticism and had a good work ethic. So I think those little pieces of the puzzle, they just had to be, glued together. And luckily I've hired some men and had the right philosophy to come in and make the glue.
Coach, obviously your district changed as everybody did with realignment earlier this year. Now you have some familiar faces, some carryover, but there are a couple of schools that'll be exiting in Groesbeck and Teague, for example. But just what are your thoughts on the familiarity and then also some newness with the new district?
Having Teague in the district's always been, the last couple of years has been good. And if Texas high school football, Teague and Groesbeck both are good caliber and have been good caliber programs in the past. But, now in the future where we're at now, you know that the kind of the spin doctor of Dallas Madison, you don't know what you're going to get because there's tons of talent there. There's a great coaching mind there. So I think it really, throws a little lightning bolt into the district. I mean, as long as you've got Grandview in there and Dallas Madison, plus West, David Woodard does a great job at West, and they've got a storied program. So I still think there's 4 teams in our district that can battle, 3 to 4 to 5 rounds deep.
Ford, Robinson, Rogers, Mart. So you're playing a 4A team in Robinson. You're playing Mart. They might as well be as good as they have been over the years as well. I love your schedule as well. Rogers, we know what Coach does there, Coach Roten. Now that's a solid schedule. Hey, Mark, thanks for your time. Anything else, guys? Appreciate your time, and I'm glad you found your keys.
And your phone.
Well,
your phone. I'm sorry. Yeah.
We could have done this if he had his dadgum keys.
Yeah, yeah.
When all else fails, look to the person to your left. She's laying right beside you. She's probably got it.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. That's Mark Bird, head coach at Whitney. 11-2 last year. What a run they had. Had the win against Grandview. And that was one of those that were like, I remember we do pick them. There's no way I picked Grandview to win that game. I was wrong, 26-21. But it was the way the season, they beat Franklin in the second round of the playoffs by 20. And then 9-7, the loss to Troy, Ronnie Porter and Troy, in a game that I would have thought would have been 40-35 at the least. And it was 9-7. Troy wins that game in a defensive slugfest. All right, 5:39 is the time when we come back. We have our pop quiz, our homework assignments from Jason King, who joins us usually on Wednesdays. What Baylor football player, past or present, would be a good fit in the WWE? If you want to contact us on the text line, we'd love to hear that. Here's another one.
They can call us too.
254-339-1122. What one single game day experience would you change at McLean Stadium? And then also, what is the most bizarre food quirk you have on your diet?
And in addition to getting into that, we also have a note on UT and a player that's apparently departed the program that we were talking about a few days ago. So that's officially, I guess, now happening, so we'll have that as well.
Might have a little bit of a Baylor, at least a Waco tie to it. When we come back, 540, the 254-339-1122. We'd love to hear from you on the text line as well. This is SicEm365 Radio.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
If you were a loved one or friend and has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's bail bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's bail bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-through open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
So it's time for us to have a talk because obviously your buddies aren't telling you and neither is your woman. You've been driving that truck around exposing your stuff. It's not only embarrassing, it's disgusting. I'm talking about full frontal truck nudity, and it's time for you to do something about it with a grill guard or a front-end replacement bumper from Pickup Outfitters. There are lots of good reasons to get a grill guard, like when Bambi decides to cross the road at the same time you're occupying it. But the best reason is that no one wants to see your junk up in your grill. Pickup Outfitters on Lake Erie Drive carries all the major brands of grill guards, including Ranch Hand, Cattleman, and even the Renegade brand made right here in Waco. And every grill guard we sell comes with our lifetime installation guarantee and no-worry warranty program. Won't you help us end truck nudity? Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco. Check out our grill guards on our website at createacommotion.com/guards. Createacommotion.com/guards.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by idealmri.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. idealmri.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
By the way, David Anderson, thank you on Twitter. Smokey Quick Trip said they're going to build a store in Waco. I wish they would hurry up on a place where you can go get free air.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Again, full service. Bring it back.
All right, Baylor football player, pastor present.
We get to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a note about a Baylor, about a UT football player that was been on and off for the last week or two.
Yeah, just some finality, it looks like, to the story involving Anthony Cook, highly rated corner out of the state of Texas. He's got some Waco ties. I can't quite remember exactly what they are, but he does have family here. I think he might have lived here, grown up here, or something like that for a while. But regardless, Anthony Cook has some Waco ties, but he committed to Texas. Baylor was in on him a couple years back, but there was the reports out last week when a lot was going on with the protests and racial injustice. UT put out their list of demands, and one of the players who had come out and said, "I'm never playing it down for Texas again," is Anthony Cook. And after a couple of players came out and said, "Hey, we're good," as though that they had talked to, the disgruntled members and had moved on and everything was going to be fine. Kind of days went by. We never heard an update on Anthony Cook, but Anwar Richardson says that he can confirm that Cook is no longer with the UT program, intends to transfer or enter the transfer portal. I guess Inside Texas actually had this first, but yeah, Anthony Cook officially no longer going to be on the UT football team.
Also, the notes you were making about Saturday's live coverage of some interviews with Coach Aranda and players. J.J. Joe, when you were discussing Terrell Bernard, I didn't get this until now, or didn't get it in time, and we had another segment going on. Terrell will definitely play at the next level, barring any misfortune. His play last year in replacing Clay was phenomenal. Great discussion, but don't forget, dang B. Roy in that three-man line was simply unblockable. There's a reason Rule drafted him, no question. JJ, yeah. Thanks for listening. He was like a dump truck inside. Dump truck.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I wish injuries hadn't really have held him back in some cases, maybe earlier in his career. But regardless, yeah, he was playing at a high level as a senior, and that's what Matt Rule always said was going to happen, and that's what happened with a lot of those guys.
Michaela on Twitter, most gas stations will give you a code to use for free if you buy gas or sometimes just a drink. Also, my tire shop in Cali will check and fill for free if I make a stop. Again, I'd love to have that kind of full service. Maybe
bring it back
in Texas
as
well.
That's what's also nice about the oil change too, is you can get the air in your tires and all that. But you really only do that once every set of miles or once every couple months or so. But.
Yeah. All right. So here's who a Baylor football player, past or present, good fit in the WWE.
I said Danny Watkins. He's already got a character in The Fireman. 2, he had a mean streak. He was always good for a personal foul in a game, so, and that's contrary to most Canadians. A lot of times the WWE, some guys would be Canadian and they're kind of friendly until they get in the ring. Well, now he can be kind of the angry Canadian, even though that's not really Danny in the first place. But I see the character potential all the way around.
I didn't take long to answer. It was Sean Oakman. Sean Oakman has the size. He has the look. He has the tattoos. He's got the hair, too, if you want to throw that into it. He's just a guy who is somebody who that when you see him, you go like, whoa, who is that dude? You know, like he has that about him. And he can also talk a bit as well. Now, I don't know how great he would be like on Listen, Hogan, on Saturday. Like, I don't know how good he'd be at that, but I think he could talk some trash, and he's a good talker. So, you know, I mean, like Sean Oakman's the easy answer, but I think there's a reason he's the easy answer. He would absolutely make the most sense of anybody I could think of.
Now,
who'd you put?
I said the first thought was Oakman, but I put Laquan McGowan.
Oh, yeah.
You know what with him?
400-pound athletic. I mean, athletic for a 400-pounder. Yeah. And he has kind of a personality to him as well.
You know, I think the problem with him is, and I don't know Laquan well at all, but just kind of reading the tea leaves, I don't think he could – I don't know if the work ethic is there to be able to do that career. That is a lot of travel. That is a lot of shows. That is 200-plus dates a year. It's not for everybody. Even if you could go in the ring and do some things, okay, now do it 200 times all across the entire world with, like, you know, a day on, day off schedule all the time. So, Laquan would be interesting in his size. I just don't know if he'd have the desire to be able to make it.
All right, now – we don't really have a game day experience because we do a pregame show, and then I would maybe stop at Hobbies or John Maddox, Edward Jones, and have and of course Edward Jones, one of our great sponsors of the Mac Road Show segment. Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson,
and the hour that we're
Tom
in.
Albers, huh?
And the 5 o'clock hour.
Cam Heathcock, yeah, exactly, and also, and I'd get maybe a couple of things, and I'd go to the press box quickly, and I'd start working on high school football. Players of the week, next year. So I didn't really have to deal with much of that. So I'm not sure.
I said make it that maybe as a way for people to get cooler during the hot games. I don't know. I really don't know because I've never once sat at McLean Stadium as a fan. So I can't speak to this at all. So I really don't know. I mean,
I think McLean Stadium, the way it's set up and how cozy it is, and the way it is, maybe we should do that. We should go sit in the. Of course, you may not be able to, but go sit on the 30 or the 10 or in the grassy knoll.
We'll do that in 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I went with a little less in-game promotions. I feel like they've done a good job. I think it's definitely improved over the years, and you know, some of those contests are really fun, but. I don't know. You guys can disagree if you feel this way, but I just think that sometimes everybody could use a little bit of a break from screaming and yelling and cheering and being on their feet. Now, if it's an intense game and you need everybody to be loud, like I totally get that, but I just feel like sometimes it's just like you don't ever get a chance to catch your breath as a fan. You know what I mean? It's like the game's going on, they're in the game, the screen's telling you to cheer, do all that, and then it's like a timeout hits, but instead of you just getting a chance to maybe catch your breath, it's like, here's this contest. And then as soon as that's over, it's like, here, let's introduce these people. And it's just like, it's always something.
I think they're trying to get the sponsors as many mentions as possible.
I get it. I feel like
I don't think that's going to change. I think maybe better timing for them, like for some of the ones that might be a little bit better. Jason King has a good point, like, you know, let's not do a funny one when it's all tense. Let's just do, you know, like 17-17 in the third quarter.
It's 4th and 1 and the game's on the line. It's like, here's the babies on the little tykes or whatever, you know.
So, but, yeah.
All right, so a couple of other responses. Jason King, I love attending games at McLean Stadium. It's obviously nitpicky, but a lot of those skits, and they do in basketball like you were talking about. Yeah. Best dunker in Baylor history. This is going through rapid fire. Quincy Acey, Terry Black, Pierre Jackson, Quincy Acey, Deuce Bello.
I thought Deuce Bello was going to be such a badass.
Then Mark Vidal, Quincy Acey, and I mentioned Mark Vidal. I'm going to get into the treacherous conditions because, Paul, you may have related to one bizarre food quirk. Colt Barber, when I was younger, I loved mustard on Cheetos.
That is bizarre.
That's
Brian
out
Etheridge, Tabasco on fried chicharron.
Chicharron. Pork rinds.
Grayson Grundhafer, a Three Musketeers bar with a massive amount of creamy peanut butter on top. Ashley Hod, mustard on chicken.
Huh.
I've actually had done that a couple.
It is kind of weird though. It doesn't sound weird, but then it kind of does. Mustard and chicken.
He says I almost have olives on pizza as well, but olives on pizza is not weird.
That's not weird.
Jason King, my dad used to put salt on watermelon.
My dad did that.
But he's the one of those that puts a layer of plain Lay's or Ruffles potato chips in his sandwich.
I do that sometimes just to change it up, and I like the chips on a sandwich on occasion.
What was yours, Craig?
I don't have one.
Okay, I didn't either, but then I remembered when I was younger, when I was in high school in Japan, one of the best go-to things after school at this cafeteria was French fries and brown gravy.
Huh.
That's no different than what you do at a chicken tenders place.
So mine was when I was a little kid, Mr. Rogers did an episode about healthy snacks. And he wrapped a piece of Kraft American cheese around a banana. And Mr. Rogers, honestly, it was a good thing that Mr. Rogers used his powers for good and he was such a wonderful human being because he could have raised a child army because I listened to every word that man said when I was younger. So I tried it. It wasn't that bad. I don't eat it anymore. It tastes weird to me now. But when I was a kid, I thought it was great. So that was
most treacherous conditions in which I've ever covered a game. Colt, in terms of covering a game, I don't recall anything actually being awful, but the Baylor-Texas 2013 game was close. It was freezing that day. We did our pregame show in a tent. Paul Catalina, 2015 TCU, frozen, soggy as hell. Hated every second of that entire day when I was in the press box.
Same here.
And Brian Etheridge, he's talking about a high school game, South Lake Carroll against Permian. During the game, a turd floater ensued, and then lightning, etc. My phone